songs that are a little, what we call sexy. You can see from the title, it's more of a love album.
stable and told you I'm making something objective.
Yeah. All right.
Word. I heard you kicking some bars.
Who was freestyling? That's what we doing?
I heard her kicking some bars.
Don't make me come out of retirement.
Yeah, let us know the theme music is nice. Okay.
Hey, it's nice.
Hey.
It's nice.
I love it.
Monkey bars,
We're about to get an intro remix.
all kind of bars.
That joint sound like a track that never made the last Tribe Called Quest album. That's what it sounds like. That joint got that hot. Yeah.
Definitely. He also gave me a list of a lot of things that he do. So just want to let everybody know our special guest tonight is Matt Genius. That's here. He's a certified LMFT. Super dope brother. I got his information off of StarX. As you guys know, one of the most powerful, influential people down here is the Hungry Black Man. That's his major platform. He also go by StarX Smith. That's his regular platform. But he's always trying to curate a culture, our Black culture within our culture, bringing back the Black Wall Street. In order to do that, you have to network with your peoples, whether it's professionals, just people that's doing great things in our community. We just got to start networking and doing what we're doing. Basically, it's that format and that mentality, FUBU, for us, by us. We have that mentality that will bring us back to that Black Wall Street, because overall, back in the Black Wall Street, they didn't have FUBU, but what they had was the same mentality, which was that it's all about us, right? It's all about having a code of conduct and group economics within ourselves. And that's why the Black Wall Street end up being one of the most financially powerful communities, even to this day in history, with this today's current currency, still couldn't match what that block and that street did for us way back then. And we had many Black Wall Streets globally. So in order for us to survive the agendas that's going out here, in order for us to alleviate as much mental stress as possible, we have to start getting back to building that foundation with our community, with our people, and furthermore, our family. The family structure in itself will be so powerful that it will create the atmosphere to go ahead and build the levels that we need to build in order to gain that protection, that guidance, and also a better generation for the next, because every generation before us has made sacrifices to put us in the position that we're living in now. And we're dropping the ball because we're not making them same sacrifices that our elders did for us, that we're doing for the next generation. And we have to make sure that we're picking up the ball and actually going a lot harder than the previous generation, because we have to make up for that long loss of slack that we have left behind. And it's only for the embetterment of our next generation in order for them to survive. If we don't have that type of mentality, there will be no generation that will survive what's coming forward. So shows like this, platforms like this, and definitely a powerful brother like Matt is those are ingredients that we need to make that possible for our next generation. So tonight we are bringing the mental health issue up, because today this month we actually celebrate mental health. Today is Mental Health Month this month. So what better way to do that than to bring a super powerful brother that look like us? You know what I'm saying? That's very important. Professional is professional, right?
That's right.
I wouldn't, if somebody is going to somebody that's professional versus somebody janky, if somebody janky look like me, I'm not going to go there. But if we're talking about professional, if somebody's professional that look like us and they're professional that don't look like us, I'm going with a professional that look like us. Why? Because there's a thing called relativity, and then they understand our emotions. They understand what we go through. It is a better communication when you're dealing with people that look like you. There's nothing wrong with anybody else, but it's just an added incentive when you get somebody that's knowledgeable, that look like you. That representation I always talks about, it makes a difference, and it's very impactful, and it's very influential, especially the young generation that's up here looking at this program right now and seeing a brother that looks like, he look like my favorite artist. He look like Q-Tip. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. And see, mental health isn't so bad if I could get around and just vibe with him. The energy is there.
Real talk.
So definitely, I want to introduce you guys to Matt Genius, the LMFT. I didn't get any information about how in-depth of what he does. And I really don't like to do that with our guests, because sometimes you have past things that are written that you really don't want to highlight, because sometimes you help other people and you don't want to give them your new shine because they never thought about you like that. So I like for the guests to go ahead and tell us what they do and exclude anything out that might hinder or help somebody else. So with that being said, I will let Matt take the floor and introduce yourself and let everybody know your accomplishments and what you've been doing and how, we can find you and everything like that.
All right, man. First of all, let me give you guys a round of applause, man. This is a great platform.
Appreciate it.
Appreciate you guys inviting me. That's the first thing. The second thing is, man, the words you just spoke life, brother. Like, thank you for being so inclusive as far as your thought for not just ourselves right now, for the future as well. It sounds like you align with a lot of things my mind align with. So I'm just happy to be in this aligned space with all of you, man. This is such an important space for me to be in as a father. Yes, I am a father. As a married man, my wife and I celebrated 15 years this year.
Yes.
Whoa.
Yeah, listen, man, it's
Hold on. Let's pause for a moment.
Whoa.
Yes.
We
He has
gonna
a
let you
beautiful.
we gonna let you
oh, it's
finish.
good.
We gonna let you finish, but
Whoa.
we just can't gloss over that. That's beautiful. That's
I
powerful. That's
appreciate that.
impactful right there.
Yeah,
Yeah.
15
So
years, man.
salute to you. 15 years. My
15
God,
That's
years.
that's
big.
amazing, brother.
Beautiful
Yeah, man,
family.
appreciate
Beautiful
that.
family.
That's
Appreciate
big.
that, man. Yeah, man.
Yeah.
15 years of marriage. About 3 weeks ago, man. 3 weeks ago, we celebrated our arrival of our sixth child.
Yes.
Yeah,
Whoa.
sixth child. Yeah,
Whoa.
yeah. See,
Okay.
it keeps coming. It
Yeah.
keeps coming.
Yes.
They
Right.
talk about they talk about nation building,
Hey, we
but
gotta.
you out here actually with the pickaxe and with the hammer and the
Yeah,
nails. I love it.
man.
Yeah, man.
You know those games,
Yes, sir.
civilization, where you gotta
Yes.
cultivate, man. So that's what we're
Mm-hmm.
about, man. Right. But listen, we took a shortcut, man. My wife and I've been married for 15 years. She's a brilliant individual.
Yes.
She's a doctorate level educator.
Oh.
She produced five girls now, three of which are
Yes.
triplets. We had
Yes.
Wow.
yeah, man.
Wow.
We had our first daughter, and then like 15 months later, we had triplets. So we had like a period of time where we had 4 under 2, and then about 8 years later, doing the whole thing with the girl dad. Last year, we introduced the boy, and so
Yes.
the kids were that much older than him, so we doubled back, and now we got the
Yeah.
kids with his age range as
Yes.
well. So yeah, man. So that's the family aspect of it. I love my family, beautiful family, like
Yes.
Anthony
Beautiful.
said earlier, man. I love just sharing them with the world because they are what you said, man. They are the example of what our future will be like. If we get it right, man, we set our generation up for success, and the small things that we do. And of course, we'll talk about some of those things later.
Yes.
I am a licensed marriage and family therapist. That's a mouthful. Let's just say that I'm a therapist, man. I can see
Yes.
people and talk therapy. There are a bunch of us. There's a whole different schools of thoughts, which we can get into later. But my school of thought is marriage and family therapy. I've been practicing for about 10 years, if not a little bit more. 7 of those years have been in substance abuse, and then about 5 or 6 of those years have been in private practice, where I've seen and specialize in Black male issues, family therapy, which is marriage and the individual, and specifically just all a bunch of different issues, man. So
Wow.
Definitely.
yeah, man.
Definitely.
Private practice. We were living in South Florida for, that's where I'm from, originally from Miami. We were living in Coral Springs, and then last year we decided to take our talents to the ATLs, to the A, and so now we're in Atlanta.
Okay.
Currently
Yes.
about to be licensed up here too, so I'm going to start
Nice.
being able to see clients in Florida and Georgia as well. And man, I'm just
Awesome.
happy to be a part of this conversation, man. Oh, also,
Yes.
like the brother said, man, I'm also a recording artist. I love
Yes.
music. That's a part of my therapy. So about a couple years ago, maybe a year and a half ago, I started recording music. And so when you said Q-Tip, man, I'm in good company, man. That's a brilliant guy, man. He's a
Oh.
Yes.
he's an artist. He's a composer. He's a producer.
Yes.
He's he is a leader in all types of ways. So that's a great person to be compared to. Even what you said, Jonathan Reynolds, man. You put me in some great.
Yeah, Jonathan Majors.
Jonathan Majors, yeah, right.
Beast.
Even if it's just the look.
Him too, though. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, yeah, you look like that cat.
Yeah.
I
So
appreciate it,
the song he has that is super dope is "I'm Black," and I really wanted to play it, but I was like, I didn't know if you had copy strikes
Yeah,
on
man,
it.
you can play it, man. You can play it. I have no
Okay,
issues with.
definitely.
I don't have no issues with it, man. But
Okay.
Yes.
Maybe
What I'll
YouTube
do
might.
is when we exit out, I'll definitely play it and let everybody hear it, and they can go on. I think it's all platforms.
All
I know I
platforms.
listened to it on Spotify,
Yeah.
but I know it's on all platforms. Man, when I tell you it is a super dope song. The little girl in the background your daughter?
Yeah. So what I did
Yes.
on that song is that I got my whole family on there. My
Oh,
Okay.
Oh
my
man.
wife took us out. She's the one on the last verse.
yes.
Yeah.
I got my kids on the chorus saying "I'm Black." That's the
Yes.
girls. They're saying
That's
That's
crazy.
Yeah, it's dope.
and then I got my best friend on there who's his name goes by Infinite, and then I got another friend of mine who's on there from Detroit, and so we kind of spread it out, man. We got people from just about every, and the producers from Detroit as well. So it's a nice little song, man. I'm super proud of it. came together really nicely. Hopefully people can enjoy it for quite some time.
Yes,
Bro, I like it already.
Yeah.
Yes, I definitely like it. I'm putting it on my radio station. I have More Empowerment Radio as an underground radio
I
station.
appreciate that.
I'm
Yeah.
definitely gonna put it in rotation. I love it. I fell in love with it. And it's super dope, man. So I really appreciate it, man. So thank you for sharing that information with us. So tonight, like I said, tonight is Black mental, well, I wouldn't say Black mental health, it's mental health, but we're dealing with it on the Black side because we suffer whenever you go through anything, anybody in America goes through anything, Black people suffer the worst because we have the least resources. We are told that we have to put on our bootstraps. And just like Dr. King said, you give us these boots, want us to pull up the boots, and they're bottomless boots. So they're not even good boots, but you want us to strap them up and pull them up. Doesn't make sense. So, you know, in aspects, Black people suffer the most with the least amount of resources. So it's very important that, you know, we do things like that to help our brothers and sisters that's out there that need some of the resources, don't know who to go to, because sometimes when you go outside, you get taxed way more than the people that's, you know, like I say, that look like you and can help you in a better way. Because a lot of times you deal with people outside, they'll deal with you on a textbook level, but they don't know your everyday, they don't feel your everyday occurrence. You know, if you're a Black man, you want a Black therapist, a Black male therapist, because if I go into therapy, I'll be like, man, look, Matt, I have straight depression. Every time a cop get behind me,
Right.
man, I'm losing it. So I go into a white therapist, he doesn't know what a cop being behind him gonna give the same effect as a Black man. So Matt will sit back and empathize with me and be like, yo, bro, I've been there. I understand it. This is what I did and it helped me to alleviate that. It's a big difference, especially if you're out here spending money. You don't want to just spend money with anybody and then get nothing that helps you. It's just pointless. It's like throwing money in an open bucket, right? So definitely it's very important for us to do what we need to do. So mental health, like we're going to get into the definition, is a person's condition with regard to the psychological and emotional well-being. All this pressure seems to be affecting his mental health. As we know, it's one of the major things that Black people deal with. In general, people deal with it, but Black people really deal with it heavy. In general, men are 3 times more suicidal than women. So you already know that Black men have it extra hard because, like I said, we don't have the resources and we still have the added amount of pressure, and we're looked at to maintain the same levelness as everybody else when that isn't possible because everybody else have the resources and have the agility to get to where they need to get to. But we have to struggle with the least that we have amount, and then everybody expects us to produce the same results. That in itself is very much pressure and leads to a lot of suicide. So we definitely want to dial down into that because I'm pretty sure that our guests have dealt with situations like that or heard people coming sitting on his chair and talking about situations that might have led down to that path. So definitely want to get into some warning signs of mental health illness, right? So change in personality, changes in emotion, isolation, sudden absence of self-care, sense of hopelessness and feeling overwhelmed, and warning signs of suicide. I want to get your feedback real quick, Matt, on just run us through some of the basic things that you encountered or the basic things that people need to know when dealing with mental health signs or whatever you want to start off with to let us know, ease us into this mental health
Of course. Yeah, man. First of all of those, I'm glad that you shared those information with your audience. I like to make it even more simple for us to just get a better handle of what mental health is. First of all, it's not something to make our faces, tighten up. Mental health is about your overall well-being. You feel me? Overall well-being. So if you want to feel good in your overall body, mentally, physically, emotionally, it starts with up here. So if you value this, If you value this, then mental health is something that you have to pay attention to. When people say health is the new wealth, you have no health without mental health. Your body could be physically healthy, and we've seen it before, man. Best athletes in the world, but they don't have it together in here or emotionally in here, and so they fall apart, you know. So what I like to, start off with is the understanding of what mental health is when you look at the physical aspect of it, right? So if we make mental health into a person, we have to parse that person. We have to parse that person into three individuals. One individual will be the one that's really obvious, which would be the behaviors. That's what we focus on and a lot on Black and brown individuals. We look at how they behave, how they show up, how they come to work, how they show up at school, how they interact with everybody else. That's what we see. So sometimes we jump to conclusion because we only see and understand what is right there in front of us. That's the low-hanging fruit. So behavior is one aspect, meaning the way we engage and interact and whatever's on the surface, The other aspect is our emotions. That's something that specifically for men, we don't share a lot of, so we keep it on the inside. So we may show up as one way, or we may manifest something that may be going on the inside, but what's on the inside is not something that we necessarily talk about, the emotions. So now you have the behaviors, which is one aspect of mental health, and you have the emotions, which is another aspect of mental health, and you have the actual thinking, the thoughts that goes on between your head right here. That's the last aspect of your mental health. Each one of them are individually important, but it just so happens that in our society, especially in our schools, what they focus on is the behavior, what we see, how Black men show up, right? Before you can even get a word in, people already have an understanding of you just by your appearance, just by how you show up. The assumption is either this or that, when there's so much more going on in our emotions that we're not addressing: sadness, anger, anxiety, depression, shame, all these different emotions that we bottle up that may manifest in different ways, and one of the main ways it shows up is anger, especially in men. Anger is the one that we let pass by more often than not. And if it's not anger, it's going to be some sadness and isolation in men, And so when you think about the behavior, think about it attached to the emotions. When your emotions are not where they need to be, your behavior is going to be impacted, right? Because they're attached, but we see them separately. We think that you're misbehaving or you're showing up differently or you're yelling and screaming because that's just who you are. No, it's something going on internally that's causing you to show up that way. Maybe it's, some past emotion, some traumatic experience, or some recent event that's causing you to feel a specific way that's causing then the behaviors, meaning how you interact with the people who you care about, with the workforce, with whomever, in that specific way. And then the thinking, the thoughts that we have in between our heads, like Anthony said, if I'm getting pulled over and I'm anxious, that's my brain racing. All these scenarios, man, what if this guy does this? What if this guy, all the scenarios playing through your mind. And once those thoughts start racing, your heart starts pumping, the emotions of fear and anxiety starts to creep in. And then before you know it, you're acting erratic, right? You're acting erratic because the behaviors are attached to the emotions, which are attached to the thoughts, and you pull them all together. Then you have your mental health, right? But when each one are impacted individually, all of them have residual impact. All of them will have a domino effect on either way. If my physical body is impacted, meaning if I have a broken arm, I'm going to be depressed because I can't do the things that I would normally be doing if my arm was healthy, right? And so my thoughts are going to be like, oh man, I can't even, minimizing myself, or I should have, or all the thoughts of what I could and should have done differently so that my arm wouldn't be impacted. And so that's just the physical. If the physical is impacted, then my emotions will be impacted, then my thoughts will be impacted. And that's how the mental health sometimes is a problem for us, because we're not addressing the thinking and the emotions. We're just focusing on the behaviors. So what I would start this conversation is get us a full understanding of that. Thinking, feelings, behaviors, all of them are interconnected. And if you want to manage it, because we do, right? I have to say this, all of us are paying for some form of therapy. It may not be me, it may not be a therapist, but you're paying for some therapy. Look where the money is going, whether it's shoes, clothes, alcohol, drugs, food, entertainment. It's something. You're paying for something to mitigate, to minimize, to manage the pain, the emotions, the thoughts. Look where the money is going, man. So if we're paying for therapy, I think we just need to focus on the things that are actually working for us, the things that can manage those thoughts in a healthy way, the things that can manage your emotions and eventually manage the behaviors on how we show up.
Oh, dope. So dope. So now that you say that you're a married man and you have a wonderful family, can you let us know why, when you talk about emotions, can you let us know why it is very important for the man and the woman to be in a household when it's coming with covenant over the children, as far as the balance of emotions and expression of emotions with a child? Is it
Yes.
far better with two parents versus what does each parent bring? What do your wife bring?
Yeah.
And what do you bring to the children that shows the balance of emotion? Because remember, when you go back to the statue in Africa, the statue in Africa is the woman, the man, and the child, and they're all in unison.
Right.
Right? There's nobody ahead of anybody.
Right.
They're all in unison. And I think people don't understand that dynamic. But you, as a therapist, can you break that down to why it's so important in that level?
Yeah. You know, I think first of all, we have to understand that our minds aren't necessarily our own right now. You know, a lot of us may not be traumatized by this life, but this life isn't necessarily the life that we were destined to live according to where a lot of us are from, whether it's indigenous on this, you know, part of the planet right here, meaning your great, you know, your ancestors are from America or they're from another soil, but we weren't meant to live how we're living right now. So a lot of our minds aren't necessarily the same way and valuing the same things that we value. So what I had to do for my family and I was detach from a lot of the values, a lot of the understandings that we had about what a family is, you know, that nuclear family, wife, kids, and 2 dogs, or whatever the formula is, right? we had to detach from that and understand that our family is something that's sacred, you know, and each individual has value, you know, equal value to everyone. My kids come in with plenty of wisdom. I have a 1-year-old. That kid is brilliant. You know, he is brilliant. He's been teaching my wife and I on how to manage his life.
Yeah.
You know, he knows what's best for him. And I know it's hard to hear that sometimes because you be like, you're a child, you don't know anything. Well, nah, they know a lot, you know, and if we listen, then we become better parents, you know. And then the other aspect is, of course, my wife in this westernized world, she wouldn't have the value that she has in my heart if I adhere to the machismo, you know, that paterfamilia, which is more about Greco-Roman society than it is about our own indigenous understandings of who we are as men and who they are as women. A lot of those understanding came from places that people don't look like us, but yet we adopt these things by face value because they're taught in our schools, they're taught in our church, they're taught, you know, in different mediums that we take in. And so we believe it as truth. And so you'd see a lot of the family structure housed as the man to the top, the sons, the uncles, then the wives, then the daughters, then, you know, that's how it was in an old Greco-Roman society that was given to us in our colonized minds, and it stuck with us because they became our traditions, they became our way of life, and they became our norms. And so sometimes in these cultures, it's easy to see the woman as less than, but my wife, nah, man, she's my OG, you know what I'm saying? Yeah. She's my best friend. She is everything that I needed and more. You know, she brought the best out of me in a lot of aspects, and I brought the best out of her in a lot of aspects, and we're growing. You know, we understand our job is to be in a space that can cultivate an environment for her growth, for my growth, and our kids' growth as well. And so we had to do a lot of unlearning and relearning to be able to get our minds healthy enough to create a balanced space enough to where her and I can still thrive, have a healthy relationship, but also be healthy parents for our kids as well. And a huge part of that is understanding our own mental, emotional, and physical state. You know, meaning I have to understand what that means for me as a man, as the head of the household, and her as the woman, as the head of the household as well, what her role in her mental and emotional states, understanding what those mean and how they impact the environment, the total environment that we decided that what we wanted for our household, and then making sure we can align with that. I know I'm saying a lot, and hopefully you guys have some follow-up questions.
Oh yeah.
But making sure that once we understand where we need to be, making sure we checking in with ourselves regularly to balance our mental, emotional, physical, spiritual state, and bringing our best selves to the equation. If I bring my best self, she bring her best self, then we become the best parents or the best version of those parents for our kids at that time. And then always trying to see how we can better ourselves individually first, and then collectively second, And then, of course, it spreads out communally after that.
Definitely. I like the fact you said your 1-year-old is a genius. So I don't want to show who I got this information from because she's an educator.
Right.
And you know, it's very finicky when educators say things, and she had it on private. So I took out her name, but I want to show people how important it is. I've always said this because what I think psychologically, and we're talking about the mental health part of it. When we talk about the mental part of it, I always tell people your children are no different than the other children, meaning that your children is no different than your friend's child or a stranger's child. The only difference that your child is different is in difference of either one is how much you invest in your child versus how much they invest in their child.
Right.
Because when I see children graduating at the age of 14, and people be like, oh, that child's a genius, their parents are genius. I say, no, they're not. It's, you don't know what they invested in that child.
Right.
You know, while you run around with Moschino, you know, all these luxury brands and things like that, and trying to pay for a Mercedes Benz, they sacrificed and put all that money into their books and, you know, learning after school programs and tutors to get them to a grade level above what they're supposed to be. I've watched this, shout out to the Nation of Islam. I've watched this with my own stepchildren at the time, who end up being 2 grades above the level they were because they were going to the Nation of Islam school right here in South Florida, which was off 55th and 7th in Miami. And they were just super bright individuals. And it's the information that they pumped into them that normally wouldn't be pumped into them in a normal public school, because in a public school, they rather your children learn from you opposed to them teaching them the general basis in school. Because once they get out of it, most parents don't put in the extra potential and information and resources into their child for them to progress to that super level that they feel like they see other children on. So with this educator, she wrote this, and I thought it was very important. She says, according to research, a child's oral vocabulary in the 1st grade is predictive of their reading comprehension in the 11th grade. Wow. And I thought that was so impactful, because people always grab their child and be like, goo goo gaga, ooh. And I'm like, talk to the child like it's a grown child.
Right.
That child might not understand it and will reply back to you right then and there, but they understand, like they retain it in their mind till the time that they get to understand it. When they hear it again, they can say it, and people be like, wow, how does your child know that word? Because it was always in their brain from their parents. So when they were able to say it, they were able to say it. And I think that was so impactful for this lady to bring that out, because I think more and more parents need to understand that, adapt to that, and start putting that added information and resources into their child like that if they want to see a better product. Because what we're seeing now is that the children are running rampant without the guidance and the guidelines and the motivation and push behind them. And then we're complaining about our children. So with your children, I know for a fact that you're putting your children in that position to win on that level, because you said that they're 1 year, at 1 year old, he's a genius.
Yeah. And I believe,
what have you done? Because I know some people put microphones by your wife's womb and have audio books and stuff like that. Was that a thing that you guys did for your child at 1 year old to heighten himself like that?
We did that and more, man. We didn't just stop at just letting them hear, like, you know, us read to them. Forget the audiobooks. We read to them, you know, in the womb as well. But it goes beyond that, man. I believe in the everyday genius. That's why I changed my last name to Genius, but spelled a different way. You know, I'm of Haitian descent. If you guys are from South Florida, you know, all the Haitians have last name Jean or Jean Paul or Jean Pierre. Mine was Jean. I haven't changed the government yet, but it's Matthew Jean. But I changed it to Genius because I believe in the genius in all of us. And I grew up in Opelika. You know, I went to Opelika Elementary. I went to Westview Middle School, went to Miami Central. And, you know, there was a point in time where I believed that the kids on the other side of the train tracks were better than us. And I'm sure a lot of us did too, you know.
Yeah.
You know, we thought the kids at the, you know, private schools, you know, those alternative, you know, they were better than us. And the thing that differed from them and us is that they experienced less trauma. That's it. The household was just a little bit more stable. The environments were just a little bit more stable, and so they were able to produce more. You know, my friend and I, my best friend and I, we had a pet python in college when we were at FAM, and we had it in a fish tank, which was one of the dumbest things you could do.
What? We just go glaze past that?
Listen, we're not gonna do that, right? So we had it in a fish tank. That python did not grow at all. Of course, you know that, right?
Yeah.
So you know what happened. We eventually gave it away to a friend who had a room size, kind of terrarium for his snakes.
Yeah.
About a month later, that thing tripled in size because it was in a better habitat. It was in a healthier environment.
Got it. Right.
What you can see the difference. What you can see the difference is a lot of our kids, for example, are dealing with traumatic experiences at a very young age, which limits their brain potential from maximizing what they learn. When your brain is traumatized, when your brain is stressed, it doesn't matter what age you are, but it's more impactful in the child because their development is happening at such that young age. So the environment that's necessary for them has to be something that's nurturing, meaning the environment has to be safe. And if you're not creating a safe environment, whether it's by your tone of voice, whether it's by your action, whether it's by, the content you play around them, whether it's by, the food, if it's not a safe environment for them, then their brain, they're not going to reach the potential. Some of our kids are clear geniuses, but they won't be able to match that potential based on the external environment that they're in. If we remove that child, put them in a healthy environment, that genius will shine bright. And of course, you guys have probably seen examples of that, either with yourselves or somebody else. When somebody changed location, meaning like, man, I got to get out of here, man. I was in South Florida, man. I was in South Florida, and then I went to Tallahassee for school, and I had to leave Tallahassee to go to Alabama because if I stayed in Tallahassee, outcome would have been totally different,
Party.
You know what I'm saying? So sometimes it's the environment that you have to leave. Sometimes it's the environment that you have to shift in order to create a balance to where the person isn't experiencing as much stress or trauma that limits their mental capacity. And these are facts that are studied by the CDC and Kaiser Permanente. There was a study that was done in 1995 called the ACEs study, the Adverse Childhood Experience Study. This study was trilled because it had over 17,000 people, meaning a big sample size. The more people you have, the higher the correlation is. And listen, I don't necessarily bank on these studies, but these studies taught me a lot about my people, meaning it said that the more trauma you experience in your childhood, the more likely you are to experience negative health outcomes in your adulthood. So as a child from 0 to 18, if I'm experiencing trauma, stress, all these negative things in my young life, the impacts aren't just going to be right then and there, but it's going to follow you up until your adult life to make it more likely for you to suffer from X, Y, and Z because you had these experiences in your childhood. So, listen, man, I'm not just safeguarding my kids for their safety now, but I'm making sure that their environment is safe so that they can be a better version of themselves when they become adult. I'm protecting them from the things we experience, man. We experience trauma everywhere. You walk to school, there's gonna be a shootout or drive-by, somebody getting somebody getting robbed. I got robbed. I got shot at growing up in South Florida. So these things happen. But what we don't want is to allow our trauma that we haven't dealt with to then manifest in how we parent our kids or relate to our kids or relate to each other because we haven't regulated or learned how to cleanse ourselves from our own trauma. And we're re-traumatizing our kids by saying, that's how I talk, or that's just how it is, or when I was your age, all these different things that we do, they don't have to be us. They don't have to be like us. They don't have to be as tough as us. They don't have to be as brave as us. They don't got to be as hard as us. They have to be better than us. And it starts with this being healthy, and the health that this needs is a healthy environment. If it has a healthy environment, this thing is going to shine, it's so we have to make sure as parents to make sure that we're cultivating an environment of health for our kids, an environment of safety for our kids, an environment where their emotions aren't going to be weaponized against them as something bad. There is no such thing as good and bad emotions, but we can get to that at a later. And I don't want to overtalk. I want more questions. You guys.
No doubt. I had a question for you. Listen, because I was just strangely enough having a conversation with someone about that yesterday, how I don't want to raise my kids in South Florida. And really, I was talking because I was referencing the fact that I came up during the Luke era, right? So you had the Luke era, you had the Pac Jam, and all these type of things. And I was telling dude, like, girl or boy, but especially a girl, the Pac Jam was one of them spots. I don't know if you ever went there.
Yeah.
But it's like, you walk in the door, 50 dudes touch your ass, you know what I'm saying? And it was normal.
Right.
You understand what I'm saying? And we had songs like Me So Horny and Come On Baby, Doodoo Brown.
Right.
We grew up on that.
Pop
And
that
people think that it's like a harmless lyric, Doodoo Brown, but they don't realize there's a whole stanza that comes along with that. And it goes, I hate to be like this, but I got to do it for the purposes of making my point.
Right.
You can lick my ass up and down till your tongue and your lips turn doodoo brown. That's the lyric.
Look at Bobby's face. Bobby like,
we're
what?
7, 8, 9 years old hearing this lyric. And when the break comes on, all the girls go crazy. Doodoo Brown, doodoo. It was a thing. You from Opa-locka.
Consider some life choices now.
You understand? So I'm putting it out there. There's no way in hell I want to raise my kid in South Florida because it was just so raunchy. I learned so much so quick, way before I needed to know these things, right? To speak to what you just said. So I have two questions. Like what if you're in that environment or if you're that type of environment adjacent? I live in Miramar now. I already kind of did a little work to, distance myself from, because the culture's still there.
Right.
Even though the music has changed a bit, the culture is still there. We have a strip club culture in Miami. Let's just put it out there.
Facts.
That's what it is. And, unfortunately, even now with social media and whatever, your kids find out about this stuff when they're like younger than we were, 5, 6 years old. You understand what I'm saying? So how do you shelter your kids from that? This is my first question.
Right.
And my second question is, I used to actually do something, not like what you do. I didn't have a license or anything like that, but I used to mentor younger kids all through high school. I was in dropout prevention.
Okay.
And, somebody found out along the way, I'm not a knucklehead. I just had a bad attitude. And they're like, man, look, we can get you out of class for a few days. We can come talk to these younger kids and kind of help straighten them out. Well, I did that in high school, throughout my time in high school. And after, for about 10 years, I went and I used to do stuff with the kids, mentor them. My second question is, where do you draw the line, between what I was doing and what you do? Where would that person say, hey, young kid, whatever, I see you going through some stuff. I know we've been rapping, whatever the case may be, but you sound like you need a little more. Let me put you on the Matt Genius.
Gotcha. Yeah. All right. So first of all, man, great questions. I like the questions about music. Music is about frequency. Music doesn't need your permission to enter into you and make you move. Once it's that specific frequency, you're going to move regardless, man. An 808 hit, you're going to move. That's what you're going to move, man. You're going to move regardless.
Yeah.
Or not, it's going to move. So it's going to impact you. And so music, hip hop specifically, has been a therapy for me. And of course, all genres of music, man. I was in high school band. I was in the Central Band. I played for Family Marching 100. So music is in my blood. But at the same time, I understand that music has impacted me and adversely, because I didn't understand fully how it was impacting me. I was one of those people that believed that it didn't have a negative impact on me, but it was perpetuating a lot of the stereotypes that I didn't want to fall victim to. I became that thing that was kind of predictable, stereotypical South Florida native. I look like that person. I walk like that person. I behave like that person. So if I didn't check myself before I became a parent, it would not matter if I sheltered my kids from the music, because I was the music, So meaning, if you could do all the sheltering you want, not let them listen to 99 Jams or Power 96, but you will bring that frequency in if you haven't worked on yourself, meaning if you haven't checked your own mind to value yourself first, if you haven't checked yourself to value the opposite sex, meaning see yourself as equals and not one over the other. If you don't value yourself to see that kids are just, if you don't value sex, and we're not criminalize and make sex into such a bad thing and perverse it, then it wouldn't be a conversation that's difficult for us to have, because sex is something natural and should be shared not as just sex, but intimacy. So it's even in the language on how we speak about it, how we can open it up some more. So the music isn't where my kids go to learn about that. They listen to music too. I can't stop them from listening to music. They're going to listen to what they want to listen to after a while. But for the years that I could control the music, I did. You know what I'm saying? But then let them hear what they want to listen to, because you've already instilled in them some of the morals, principles, and values that you should have, so that even though they're listening to it, they understand it as for what it is: purpose, entertainment, and programming. You know, they understand what it's for, so they don't necessarily follow it word for word, line for line. They can read it and dissect it and come back and tell me about the lyrics for themselves. You know what I'm saying? So, but I had to make sure that a lot of the energy that was transferred in me based on some of those music, some of the songs that I grew up with, didn't allow me to perpetuate the stereotypes that we don't want to see in Black people. You know, so I had to make sure that I can still be of the culture, but not necessarily allow the culture to dominate me and show up with anger, aggression. You know how long it took me for me to become a rap artist, because I figured if I had to be from Miami, I had to be a specific type of artist. I could only be this artist that's like street harder than, you know what I'm saying? Like, I had to be punching people in the face and shooting people and selling coke. You know what I'm saying? Like, the big choppers. Right. You know, like, and I'm like, that's not me, and that's not a lot of us. So we have to share our stories. In fact, one of the important points of me making music is to leave traces, breadcrumbs for my kids, so they can have a different understanding of who we are as a people. My stories from South Florida, some of the things that I experienced in real time, how they impacted my mind then, how they impacted my mind now, and how it can save them some of the grief that I had to deal with as a young adult. So all of it is thoughtful in the music. So intentionality is that, of course, we let them listen to some of the music they want to, and we offer them some of the music that we think would be good for them. But I also make music so that they can see that they have a voice to share in the frequency that they desire. I desired a different frequency in the music I listen to. So I was like, well, let me see what I can put out there, man. You know, I used to rap in high school. Everybody used to rap in high school, man, freestyling, and, you know, during lunch break. And it took a while for me to get there. But once I got there, I'm like, let me leave these frequencies for my kids and their grandkids to understand and have conversations about how to differ your mind from a traumatized mind growing up in a city like Opelika, and then becoming an adult to where you have to decide to leave that identity to become something better, to become something healthier, not just for yourself, but for 2 or 3 generations, you know, after you. When I write these songs and the songs that I record, I'm thinking, what are my grandkids are going to think about? You know, what are they going to hear when they hear their grandfather's voice saying these hot 16s real quick?
Right. No doubt. No doubt.
Basically, how are they going to understand some of the things that I did, some of the mistakes that I made, some of the people that I encountered and grew from them? You know, I'm leaving jewels and gems in these songs because I want them to understand me, but understand their superpower by unlocking their minds from this world that offers you free programming.
Yes.
Super dope. And then the second question you had was mentoring versus therapy. So if I was in that space where I'm mentoring, which I did a lot of, man, in my high school, college years, volunteered at high schools, middle schools, juvenile centers. And one of the things about therapy is that you have to make sure before you even offer that to a person, you have to have that relationship, because therapy is still something that's still heavily stigmatized. And so sometimes when you say, man, you need therapy, people take that as an offense, like they're stupid or they're dumb or they're weak or they're this or they're that. But for me, how I redefined what therapy is therapy is a cheat code. If somebody's offering you, if somebody's seeing that you need therapy or cares enough about you to offer that to you, they want to see you do better. That person values you. If that person says, man, I love you, man, you might need some, you know, you might need to talk to somebody. I care enough about you. My value is in you enough to see you become a better version of yourself. So I'm saying this out of love. You know, that's the only relationship it can come from. And then when they get to us, it has to be the same thing. What they build with us is an alliance of trust, of vulnerability, and openness. And that starts with us being in a space where they can trust us. It's good to see a brother that looks like you, that understands your culture, your walk, your Caribbean roots at times, whatever it is that will allow you to feel less anxiety in that room and become vulnerable, I think is what we are trained to do. But the aspect of when you send them to therapy is when you start to see whatever it is, you know, whether it's depression, anxiety, when it starts to impact them over a period of time. You know, most people say 2 weeks, But over a period of time, if you know them enough, you can see when the behaviors, when the emotions, when the thoughts are declining, meaning they're not sounding healthy. How does a behavior look unhealthy? Well, they start doing things outside of their character, or they stop showing up outside of their character. How does an emotion show up unhealthy? They start showing up more aggressive. They start showing up more timid. They start showing up more passive. They start showing up more anxious, and then emotions are in place. Well, how does the thoughts start showing up? Well, erratic thoughts, irrational thoughts, thoughts or statements that represent their thoughts. You can hear it in some of the things people say, how they speak, that they don't believe in the value of self. They would diminish their selves. They would talk down on themselves, or they may become the person who devalues somebody else. Bullies, all bullies need therapy, man. That person need a hug, because they're dealing with the self that they don't value themselves enough to then project that energy onto somebody else. And that's a space where they can improve on. So if anybody approaches me, or if you approach anybody about therapy, whether it's a mentee, a friend, a family member, it's always coming from a space of, I love you enough to pour into you, to see you do better. Let me share some of the things that I know therapy can do with you. In fact, I even recommend, if you are close enough for that person, if they have anxiety about going, that you go with them on the first session.
That's G. I've offered that. I've offered that before.
Yeah, man, go with them, so as much as we can. Of course, some of the young people that I've seen, they come to me in, high school, early college. I have to see them on a discount because they can't afford those prices. But there's a lot of other people who will do the same thing. It's not just me. We have therapists that will see clients on a sliding scale, making sure that wherever they are, they can afford it. So I would always say, if you see those issues, make sure you can understand what resources are available first. Have those resources available before you go talk to that person. And when you talk to that person, come from a space of love and say, man, I care enough about you. Here are 3 sources that you can actually call and lean on. Give them a call, and then follow up. Make sure you have a follow-up conversation, probably like a week or so later, a couple of days later. Be like, hey, man, did you call? Did you call? Did you call? Make sure you call, man. I'm going to keep checking up, And then
what was the outcome?
Yeah, making sure, they tap in and they get that connection. And then sometimes it's financial. They may not be able to afford it. When we can, man, offer to pay for it too, because sometimes they may not see the value. I said this earlier, that all of us are paying for some form of therapy. It doesn't matter where you work, McDonald's, Walmart, Kmart, wherever you work, you're paying for some form of therapy because you're paying for something. You're spending money to help manage your mental state, to help manage your emotional state, to help manage your physical state. That's a form of therapy. And so whether it's working for you is the question. If it's not, if these issues of depression, anxiety, sadness, anger are manifesting in your day-to-day for more than a 2-week period, then you might want to switch up and think about maybe getting a professional therapist to see how they can help out and managing those emotions and mental state.
Thank you, sir.
Super
great responses.
Yes, I
Appreciate that.
I want to catch that real quick, what you just said, because I had something here and you just said something that aligned up with what I have for you, which is, are these, no, hold on. I think these are, nope, not that one. Okay. No, hold on. Here we go. I'm sorry. All right, here we go. So are these questions that if somebody's going to you, Genius, are these questions, or anybody, just any professional, are these questions that they should ask, which are, what are your fees? Do you accept my insurance? Have your insurance card handy? Do you, what do your credentials mean for you? Do you have experience working with people who have concerns like me? How do you approach helping people? Do you make treatment plans? If so, will you share mine with me? How do the sessions work for you? How long is each appointment? What will it do? How long might I be working with you? How many sessions do people have with you? Are these questions or common questions that people ask you before they engage in contracting you or using you for your services?
Yeah, these are some great questions to kind of wrap your mind around, because you want to always make sure that what's the most important in a pre-conversation or a consultation call with the therapist is that you actually like the person. You know what I'm saying? Like, forget how much the is, forget how much, you gotta like that person, meaning you better put on all your senses in that call or that video, to make sure that this person is a person you can actually vibe with, somebody you can actually be vulnerable with, be open with. Don't go to the person because their prices are right. That price might be right, but that might be the wrong person for you, right? Sometimes the insurance, they may not take your insurance, but they may be the person you may need to go to. So come out of pocket sometimes and pay that fee. Sometimes we look for reasons not to go. We look for reasons not to go by questioning the person, be like, you see, I knew it, And sometimes it's after the first phone call. Listen, sometimes people call me, plenty of times. People have called, left messages, and I can't get back to them, and that's unfortunate. But the people who do have an opportunity to work with me are sometimes the people who push through all of that. Sometimes they don't get offended the fact that I don't answer the first, second, third time, and they still call, they email, they do whatever they can and get in contact with me. But what I'm saying is just be persistent in what you desire. You have to make sure this person, listen, you're paying for a service, and this service is a service that saves lives. Literally. I mean, add years to your life, add value to your day-to-day, create balance in your mental, emotional state, which then produces harmony and all relate. Listen, man, this is an invaluable service. So if you can, make sure that what you're paying for is what you're receiving by making sure the person is a person that you can be open with. That is the most important. It doesn't matter anything else. If you can't be open with that person, if you can't be transparent, if you feel that this person is biased, if you feel that you have a bias against this person, don't sit with them, because you won't be honest. And without that true honesty, then we can't help guide, the conversation into where healing and change will occur. So make sure that with all those questions, all those questions are important, but make sure that you can create a healthy alliance. And that alliance doesn't come with the first conversation. You know how it is, man. You're around certain people like, man, I like this guy. I like this woman right here. I think I could give it a shot. Give it about 2 to 3 sessions, really give it a shot, before you say, man, I ain't never going back to therapy. That person suck. He didn't know what he was talking about. She didn't know what she was talking, give it a shot, because sometimes it takes a while for, on the other side, for them to formulate an alliance with you as well. It's both people that are coming into this space trying to create a healthy atmosphere so that both people can be transparent, vulnerable, open, and understanding. Sometimes, listen, man, I have clients that come. I had a client when I was an intern working in West Palm Beach, came in clearly. Listen, man, this guy was from the sticks in West Palm Beach. I'm gonna just say it that way. He had one of those trucker hats. I'm not even on, those trucker hats, and he came in straight up. He's like, man, he told me in my face, he's like, I don't like you, right? And listen, straight up, he looked me in my face and said, I don't like you. And my response to him was like, man, that's fine, but would you let me help you?
That's G. That's grown man shit.
Or would you let me help you? I don't care if you like me. I don't need you to like me, but will you let me help you? Right?
That's grown man shit.
And so I promise you, we worked through our issues. Listen, we worked through them, man. We worked through those issues, man.
That was a combo package.
He came in the door with it. He came in the door swinging.
He did. Listen, man. And then, Buddy told me, he's like, it's not you. I don't like anybody. And of course, he tried to.
Oh my God.
He tried to soften it up, but I'm like, yeah, it's me. I know it's me.
And people said you got to stand on that, bro.
Yeah, right. So, but we worked through it, man. And I promise you, at the end of our time together, we spent probably like 10 to 12 weeks together. At the end of this, man, this big bear of a man with this trucker hat gave me such a tight hug of appreciation with tears in his eyes, because I was able to help him manage his emotional state, his mental state, and how he showed up in his life. He was appreciative of the exchange that we had together, because he was able to feel safe with a stranger and was able to do some of those things that we hold on to dear life, man. We hold on to these things like they're our pride and joy. We have to let some of this trauma go, some of the anger, some of the sadness, some of the anxiety go, so we can be a better version for us first. Yes. And then everybody else around us.
Yes.
That's beautiful, man.
I love that.
Really quick, if I can. I don't want to linger on this too much, because I know there's so much we want to get to, and I know we only got you for a limited time. But to piggyback on what you're saying, a follow-up question I have is, so I'm just going to say really quickly, this contains a bit of a spoiler alert, so if there's anybody that's interested in this particular show, hasn't seen it, go ahead and turn your ears now. But recently I've hopped on the Netflix show, just binging with Designated Survivor. And for those who aren't aware, it's a political drama. It's based about this this individual who's not really a politician, but he's been appointed to a cabinet position for the president, and he gets his designation as the designated survivor, where if some catastrophic event happens and no one's able to serve as the commander in chief, this person will be sworn in. And lo and behold, worst case scenario happens, and now this guy who's just this head of housing and development gets thrown into the most important role on the planet, or whatever, and it pretty much deals with him handling his position, and everything else. And there comes an episode. Go ahead and cut off now from too deep in the weeds.
Spoilers.
There's an episode where they make it through this really horrendous ordeal, and the president, very nice, very humble, loving man, everything you'd want in a leader. His wife ends up getting taken away from him in a car accident.
Mm.
And so this guy, he was very warm. He's very gregarious, very open, very fair-minded. Always strives to make the right decision. He doesn't play politics. He's about that human approach. Now he becomes walled off. He becomes isolated. All these decisions he has to make gets piled up on his desk. And so his staff pretty much all but forces him, because how do you really force the president to do anything?
Right.
But they basically insist on him seeing this counselor.
Oh,
And so over the course of this episode, he has these mandatory 1 hour long sessions with his therapist, and nothing is happening. He's in there,
wow.
and I'm sure I know you've been down this road, and he's talking about everything but what he needs to be talking about. He's stonewalling, he's hostile, he's very unfriendly. And the therapist keeps on digging. He's like, if you're not going to respect my time, then I'll leave. He's like, well, I need you here because I'm supposed to be here. So he says, work with me. Long story short, he ends up breaking through and making headway, and ends up resulting in him being able to make an important decision that affects the security of the country. But basically, he had to deal with getting past the discomfort. So I know you're saying that you need to find a therapist that you're comfortable with, that you can talk to, and that's important because you have to have that relationship.
Right.
But by default, there's going to be some very unpleasant, difficult things that you have some deep holds on, things that are going to kind of get you scared, angry, anxious, what have you.
Yes. Yes.
As much as possible, what is that fine line in the sand? How do you determine whether or not you're getting too uncomfortable where nothing can happen, but you're
Right.
too comfortable, you're not going? How do you determine how we navigate through this
I
map
got
here?
you, man. That's a great example, by the way. I'm gonna check out that show just for that episode. I
It's,
love to
it's
see
worth
how
it,
I love to see how they portray therapists on television, man. Because usually
of
it's
course.
inaccurate, but it's all good. To your question, man, one of the first things that we are trained to do, and I can't speak for every therapist, but I know we're trained to create a safe environment. From when that person make the first phone call, when they speak to us, we have to be safe for them. So when I pick up that phone, my voice have to be safe, my tone has to be safe, my words have to be safe for you. I have to be paying attention because you are the expert. And my job is to make you feel safe enough to trust me to go on this journey together. I'm not the expert. My job is to help facilitate change in your experience. And so I have to be more attentive to you versus me coming in knowing everything. Sometimes you guys give us way too much power. And that power creates the anxiety because you're thinking that we have the control of the outcome when it's not us. You have control of the outcome. Anybody that comes to me, if they're not ready for change, they're wasting their time and money and my time and my money.
Right.
So one of the things you have to start doing is making sure that you're ready for change, whatever that change is that you're looking for. If you're not ready for that change, then you have to start getting ready. And the way you start getting ready is by understanding that all change is good change. You have to start thinking about emotions and thoughts. All of these are for your good, whether you're a spiritual person or not, whatever your beliefs are, all of it is for your good, for you to best yourself every minute, every day, every year, to become a better version of you. That's what this experience is about. So how do we do that? We do that by showing up and listening to what's happening inside of us. Pay attention. None of it is for your bad. When your teeth is killing you in the back, you think your teeth is beefing with you? You think your teeth don't like you or something like, you know what I'm saying? Go to the dentist, get it checked out. You know what I'm saying? It's not, so when our minds and our emotions are unstable, that's not a bad thing. These aren't negative things. This is your body communicating with you. This is your mind telling you that I'm not stable right now. A lot of men feel that. They feel angry deep inside. They feel sadness. They feel anxiety deep inside, but we don't have safe spaces to talk about it. And so they build up inside of us and it manifests in our relationship.
Mm.
We show up angry with our kids. You know, our kids do something, we get to let off some steam by yelling at them or by disciplining them. You know, our wife cook us, or don't cook. Cook a bad meal or don't cook at all. Then we're like, well, you ain't ever do. And we letting off steam that way. You know.
Mm.
We go to the court, man. I used to play pickup games. I stopped that about a couple years ago because dudes be trying to kill you out there, man.
Real talk.
You know what I'm saying? Like,
Real
They
talk.
playing for the visible walk-on role, man. They about to get signed.
They about to get signed, But what some of it is underneath is that a lot of aggression, man. You're like, bro, go talk to somebody. You can't just show up angry every game, man.
True.
Lighten
Look,
up.
man, my high school teacher got killed playing basketball at a basketball game, talking shit. And somebody went back to their car, got a gun, and killed him, Mr. Page.
Plenty of people fell victim to pickup games, whether it's football, basketball, even soccer these days. You know what I'm saying? You name it, So the point is we got to show up with a better headspace, and it starts with understanding that value, man. This is a valuable asset.
Yeah.
No doubt.
Your physical body, your heart is a valuable asset. So manage it as if it is.
Yeah.
We take care of the external way more than we take care of the internal. And the internal world will reflect externally in one way, form, or another. Why is it that we have, or how is it that we have people who have all the affluence still reporting themselves as depressed, as anxious, as suicidal, as self-medicating? It's because they haven't managed it. The value isn't being put where it needs to be put, and others are doing well, whether they have the finances or not. You have to see it as valuable. And so once you see it as valuable, then you can start saying, you know what, it's worth me being uncomfortable.
Yeah.
No doubt.
In that hour, it's worth me being uncomfortable for an hour. And if the therapist is nice like me, I can't lie, I'm pretty, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Hey.
But if the therapist is nice, what they would do is help you feel safe. I can't
No doubt.
I can't tell you how much brothers such as yourselves walk into my office and they do that dance with me, and I do that dance gladly with them. That dance is they walk in, they look at me up. You know how we are from South Florida. They do this. Like, and in their mind, they're like, who the nigga think he is, man?
Yeah.
Exactly.
You know what I'm saying? Who the nigga think he is, man? All right, I'm gonna sit down. I'm gonna see what he got to say. I'm gonna see what he got to say. You know what I'm saying? They go to that, and I let them. I invite them because I want them to feel at the end of the day that I'm not what they think I am. When we see another black face in front of us, sometimes we take it as a threat. We take it as competition. We see it as somebody who's trying to one-up you, especially when it's couple counseling and I have to be that guy in front of a girl and in front of his girl and him. And now she's airing out all his thing. And he's like, man, you going to say this in front of this guy? You don't even know this nigga. You going to make me look like... And in my mind, I'm like, bro, like, I don't know you. I don't really care about how you look. Or, my job is to get you to the point of change to where you can have a better relationship. So I said all that to say, you have to be willing to see your value first, and then the value of your health first, to be able to sit through and deal with the uncomfortability of any session, because those things that we holding on to for dear life aren't keeping us healthy. They're maintaining our illness, whether it's mental, physical, emotional, spiritual. By holding them on the inside is not making us better men. We're not. That's not it, man. Your kids aren't going to love you more because you're holding on to these trauma from way back in 93, 94. We got to be able to let them go, one way from another. It doesn't have to be through me. There are plenty of other ways outside of therapy to let some of these things go, but it starts by paying attention enough to see how they are impacting you mentally, emotionally, physically, financially, socially, relationally, and all these other areas as well. And then see the value of investing in you. You guys aren't making me wealthy. You're investing in yourself. So if you pay that money, you're paying for your benefit, not mine. I know how to maintain my health as best as I can, and if I find ways to improve it even more, I'm going to. I went for a salt float today. Meaning I was in a bath just floating for an hour in the dark. You know what I'm saying?
Okay.
For my own mental and emotional health, that's what I had to do. So I did it. And so it has to be value, Bobby. Hopefully that answered your question.
Dope.
And then some. Appreciate you, bro.
So I want to capitalize on what you said, because I want people to get insight on when they go see you or another therapist to think about these things, which is these are things that you need to tell your therapist, because if you have small issues, it's easy to feel like you need to talk about deep or serious issues in therapy. But remember, there's no correct topic to discuss in therapy. So sometimes your small issues might actually be bigger than the deeper issues you think. So letting your therapist know about the small issues as well as the deep issues, so they could get a better diagnosis of how or what is needed in order to correct you. Patterns and behaviors. I know you said that plenty of times, Genius, about that earlier, about patterns and behaviors. They change. Let the therapist know when your patterns and behaviors are off. Present feelings. Let them know your present feelings. Sometimes you might be caught up in your trauma or emotions at that moment. And let them know so they can diagnose you. You know, maybe they see that present feeling today, and then maybe they might see it a couple more sessions and understand that you're back in that same position. So now they can come at you and say, hey, you know, you're falling back into that same pattern. What's going on? And then you'd be like, oh, dang, I didn't know you were going to catch that. But then you open up and now you can correct yourself, because sometimes, I think a lot of times, we are afraid of change, even if it's for the good. And it's very important for you to understand that change is great. It's great. It's a great feeling for change, especially in a positive way. It means that you're changing in a way, you're trying to improve on something, and you're changing in that way. And sometimes you're changing subconsciously and you don't even realize it. So by you telling these things to your therapist can see that, hey, you're changing. It's no different than you are in a relationship or in a marriage and your wife loses weight. Subconsciously, she might not think she's losing weight, but you're like, damn, babe, kind of look a little slim over there on the curves. Hey, what you doing? You know, keep it up. And that might make the person be like, oh, damn, I didn't even realize what was going on. So it's the same thing when you enter a therapy session. You got relationships, let them know about your relationships. Your relationships can also bring up trauma. And if a relationship isn't in a positive way for you, you know, you might have to get rid of that relationship, because that relationship is bringing you down, bringing you back to the dark place that you don't want to be. So relationships are very important, and they play a very important role. Or you could have a relationship that is helping you, and your therapist could notify that and say, hey, the person you've got now is, I'm seeing a lot of improvement. Yes, rely on that person. Let them keep doing what they're doing. And maybe, you know, what would be good is also relationship therapy. So, you know, let your partner come into the session as well. That also is an added element that can also resolve some issues that subconsciously you guys don't even realize you're going through. But the outsider, which is the therapist, is viewing it and can tell you who's making the issues at what certain point, or what points that they can point out to show you that both of you guys are in the wrong in certain aspects. So it's very important. Don't be ashamed of therapy. Therapy is only to make you better. And also, you don't have to have a problem. A lot of times we think going to therapy is only when you have problems. No, therapy is very powerful before you have problems, because I have been to therapy before I even had issues, and it just made me sharper person, so that way I don't get caught up into these issues. So a lot of times, like I said, especially in our community, our Black community, we like to be post-active and not pre-active. And I think a lot of times we do more damage when we wait till something happens than sitting back and making sure that we are preventing it from happening. All right. So past traumas, that plays a major issue. Let your therapist know about past traumas, because they'll know with their experience. They might have ran through something or heard that from another client, and might give you some information that help that client, that might help you with your situation. New life challenges. Everybody's scared, you know, especially with right now with inflation going up. It's very scary. As a man, it creates some added problems, because you're supposed to be the provider. So now you get these new challenges and you feel less of a man. Tell your therapist about that, so they can give you some comforting, soothing advice, so that way you don't feel the added pressure on you. And also, like I said, men are 3 times more likely to commit suicide than any other gender. So it alleviates you from getting into that dark space where you feel like you no longer want to be here. Remember, I always tell people this day in, day out. you were a sperm and you were racing against 400 million other sperms. You won to the egg. You were the fastest sperm out of 400 million. The minute you are born, you're already a winner because you beat 400 million other people to get here. So I want you guys to understand your life is very valuable. There's nobody on this earth that should think that their life is not valuable for just that one instance of just thinking about you beating 400 million sperms to create your life that you have been born into. Avoided thoughts and conflicts is very important to let your therapist know that a lot of times you're hiding things when you shut down. And even when you're shutting down with your mate, that also brings problems because remember, communication is key inside relationships. So talk to your therapist so they can help you open up so that way you can open up more to other people, whether it's your family, your mate, or even your boss at work, you know, so that they can know what you're going through on work. And maybe they might give you some things that might make job easier for you. So just opening up in all aspects can be very powerful and helpful. And that's it for this list. I want to turn it back over to Matt and you tell me, was that a good list or is that correct? Anything else?
Yeah. I mean, I think that's all the information that you provide is very effective, man. I think people just have to start paying attention. I think a lot of us can relate to something on that list as far as what we need to manage or get better at, you know, or improve in our lives. We just have to pay attention enough to say, you know what, this is not a state that I want to be in, you know. Correct. Sometimes we just want to maintain as if maintaining is where, you know, the good is. Maintaining is just getting by. I don't want to live. I want to thrive. You know, I want to have abundance. You know, I want to live above. You know, I don't want to just be, you know, just passing the time getting by. And so to move your physical, mental, emotional, spiritual state, you have to sometimes add value to you by getting resources that are external to you. So all of it was great, man. If there's any other question that I can answer for you guys, I'd love to.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Listen,
go ahead, man.
I have a huge question. And I think I'm asking this question for everybody on this panel.
All right.
Right? I really feel that way. Each one of us has a pretty significant social media following, right? And we constantly, I'm talking about almost hourly, see people exhibit severe trauma, right? Or the results of some type of severe trauma on social media. They're always lashing out. They're always saying, you know, things to be hurtful, things to be spiteful, things to just be downright nasty, you know. And some of these people are people that we know, and they don't even realize that they're traumatized deeply and that they're saying these things to be problematic, to invoke some type of gender war conversation, usually is what it boils over into. And what I want to know is, again, two questions, because I'm sure you probably see this too.
Yeah.
Right? So how do you handle that? And how do you gauge when to and when not to engage? Some of these people, I just unfollow them because I feel like it's just useless trying to talk to some of these folks. But some of them, you know, I want to help, or I want to reach out to kind of let them know how wrong they are and how the type of energy that they're putting out. So again, how do you react, and then how would we know when to engage and when not to engage from your perspective?
Got you, man. Great question, man. Trauma is one of those things that our community don't talk enough about because we've normalized a lot of it. You know, as we started this conversation earlier, we talked about a lot of the things that we've dealt with. You know, some of our parents probably have dealt with, but these are almost like rites of passage. You know, like, yeah, man, I used to go to this. I got robbed too, man. Yeah, I got jumped too. You know.
Yeah, it's normal. A sister told me one time, like, she don't date black men because black men have experienced too much trauma.
Well, part of it is true. You know, I don't know about the not dating black men part. You know.
Yeah,
You know, like
listen, man.
there's a lot of us that are healed as well. You know, so. But to your point, man, I think it's understanding how trauma impacts us. You know, if we had more time, I would share my screen with you guys and take you through an in-depth presentation to see how trauma impacts the brain, like how stress, anxiety impacts the brain. But the short version of this is understanding two things, right? We are governed by a bunch of different systems in our body that control our, you know, our day-to-day functions inside that we don't necessarily have to pay attention to. Those two systems are the parasympathetic nervous system, right? Is working. You don't even have to think about it. You're breathing, your heart is, you know, everything is functioning in the background. No problem. And then there's the autonomic nervous system. That kicks in when there's stress, when there's anxiety. You go into flight or fight mode. You go into survival mode. Now, that's not a bad thing when we're using it for the real purposes. You know, the autonomic nervous system is a part of your body because it helps you survive. It's about survival, but I haven't been chased by a dog in years. And so, you know, the adrenaline and cortisol that needs to be pumped into my system in a circumstance when I'm in danger hasn't been present for a while, but yet that system is still very active in a lot of us because the trauma is in our minds. Your brain doesn't know the difference between what's happening in real life versus what's happening in your brain. A lot of us, the trauma is in here. And then from here, we create that trauma by showing up traumatized, by showing up maybe angry, maybe easily agitated, by not paying attention to when we cross over the threshold of us being in that autonomic nervous system type of body. Meaning, once we go there, right? Once we go there, then we lose our mental capacity. We lose a lot of our mental capacity from the parasympathetic nervous system to the autonomic nervous system. Meaning, when we're healthy, when we have balance, or when we have homeostasis, another word is regulated. When we feel regulated, when we're calm, we'll do a lot, get a lot of work done, have healthy conversations, know when to engage, because we understand where we are and we value where we are. So we like, you know what? Not today, man. I'm gonna go ahead and go this way, because if I go this way, this would trigger me. I know if I pick up this phone, I know what I'm gonna hear. I know if I answer this text, I'm gonna get a paragraph. So we already know. It's us paying enough attention to say and decide whether or not we're gonna go in that direction or not, and allow some of those things to take us over to that survival mode. Man, once we get in survival mode, all the gloves are off sometimes. Meaning, once we get to that state, I don't care what I say. Oh, you already got me here. I'm here now, right? And so we say things we don't necessarily mean, you know, because our mental capacity isn't where it needs to be. Then we're not thinking clearly. We're more likely to say harmful things. We're more likely to do harmful things. We're more likely to behave in harmful ways. And then the beauty of this is that once our brain get back to the parasympathetic nervous system, we think about, man, I owe that person an apology. I was a real jerk, man. And then if we're there, some of us don't even care. Be like, man, oh well, you know. If we're there enough, we can get to a space to where we go on what I call the apology tour. When we're back into that calm state, we'd be like, you know what, man, I'm sorry. The other day, man, I was tripping a little bit, man. I was a little tired, a little hungry. Then we point out all the things that we know to cause us to feel and push us over to that deregulated state, or to that autonomic nervous system brain that doesn't allow us to function with the IQ capacity that we should have on our regular day-to-day. That's the first question, right? The second question, oh no, that's both. I think I answered when to engage as well. You engage when you're in your best self, you know, when I know I'm doing well, when I know that I can manage my emotions, my mental state, my physical state, even though the person may not be where I am, then I engage. But if I know myself enough to know, like, nah, man, that person gonna trigger me. And if they trigger me, then I'm gonna start giving them what they give me. Then I have to make a business decision and be like, nah, you know what? It's not worth it. It's not worth it, you know, or be able to say, you know what? I know where you are. How about we have this conversation at a later date, at a later time when you are in a better space? You know, the invitation is still there. There's no love lost, man. All of us have had those moments where we're not in our regular mind state, and it can shift by being hungry. You ever seen a Snicker commercial? The Snicker bar commercial that says you're not yourself. Yeah, that's a deregulatory factor, meaning that would
want to get away.
Those are real.
Right? It will show you as a different individual when you're hungry.
Yeah.
But hunger is just one of those things that take us over to survival mode. So
Mhm.
does anger, so does anxiety, so does depression, so does loneliness, so does shame, so does guilt, so does
Mhm.
fatigue, lack of sleep, poor diet. A lot of those things take us out of our best selves. And when we're in our lower self or our deregulated self, that's not the time to engage. That's the time where you create chaos or just survive. The time to engage is when you know you can maintain your healthy state, or when you can impact that other individual in a healthy way, but not when the opposite is true. When you feel that you can't manage it, abort. Don't do it.
I'm trying.
Don't do it. Don't do it.
I'm trying.
Don't do
See
it.
what pisses me off, what makes me engage when I probably shouldn't, is the fact that I know other people are hearing this. You understand what? And it angers me that this person is putting this negative energy out into the universe and
Right.
triggering other people and making other people angry and fueling the conversations, for the gender wars, fueling the conversations that, make us lesser of a people because we're not talking. We're just reacting. And it's like, you just want to slap the shit out of them. You know what I'm saying? Because you see the damage that they're doing. So it's like, I try to dial back sometimes. I
Right.
really do.
Right.
But sometimes I feel like I just gotta let them have it. You know
Man,
what I'm saying? Like I really, it's upsetting.
I
You know what
got
I'm
you, Major.
saying?
I got you. Let me help you out with that real quick, right?
Yeah,
One of the things we have to understand is that, listen, man, I've gone to therapy.
yeah.
I went when I was 27 for the first
Mm,
time, and man, it was a game changer for me at
dope.
such a late age, but still such a young age to finally get some therapy. I went to deal with my anger,
Yeah.
and my anxiety and depression, which was masked by my anger.
Hmm.
And so, but what I'll tell you now is that sometimes, even as a better version of myself, my trauma still show up.
Yeah.
Meaning, sometimes I forget that I was traumatized. You know,
Mm.
and so what that means is that sometimes I let somebody else's trauma remind me of my trauma, so that my trauma can show its face in public.
Mm.
Right?
I
Listen,
hear you.
a lot of us have it. It's in all of us, but I don't
True.
need to walk in that light anymore, because it didn't do me any good. So regardless of where anybody else is or who's around, I value my peace of mind so much
Hmm.
that the shame that I would normally feel isn't there anymore, because I feel more empathy for you, because I've been there. I've been
Mm.
in a place where my trauma has gotten the best of me, where I said some things that were hurtful to people, where I did some things that was embarrassing to myself and my family, what I miss, where I was just a jerk, because
Yeah.
my trauma got the best of me. Meaning, one of the things that's not in the DSM, and the DSM is a diagnostical and a statistical manual, whatever
Yeah.
they have that's out, right? So one of the things that's not in there is that trauma turns us into haters. Like
Mm.
it turns you into a hater,
Yeah.
major hater. The first person you're
Does.
gonna hate on is yourself. You know,
Hmm.
and because and the reason, some of the reason why I would say this is because when trauma, whether it's big or small, happens to us consistently enough, we believe that we don't have value. It diminishes our own understanding of our worth. Why is this
True.
thing happen? Why did this thing happen to me? Why did these bad things happen to me? It may be because I didn't have value, or that's what people would tell you, or that's what the circumstance will make you feel, right? And so when you don't value yourself enough, then it's easy for you to devalue somebody else by your words, by your action, by your tone, by your gestures. When I value me enough, I see value in everybody. It doesn't matter where you are. You may not see that value. My job is not to remind you of your lack of worth. My job is to always make sure that I can shine and allow my light to shine on your value. If I can't bring that value out of you, then I'm not good for you. If the people that are around me aren't necessarily bringing my value out, then I don't need to be around them.
Hmm.
If if
Hmm.
if, if they pull out that negativity that's in all of us out more so, then I have to manage my relationship with them. Meaning,
Yeah.
I probably don't need to be interacting with them. I probably don't need to be going there, because then it's allowing me to then expose my own trauma by being like, nah, Nick, like, okay, nah, I don't. That that, that cost me. It cost me a lot. that I have to try to gain back by doing my exercises, whether it's meditation, whether it's breathing, whether it's spiritual work, whatever it is, it costs me, and I have to pay for that in other ways, you know, in the future. So in order to maintain my own value, I just don't engage. It's not worth it for me. For me,
I've been doing that. Yeah.
for me, you know, and eventually you will understand that sometimes when you lose that battle, don't beat yourself up, man. Understand that we all make mistakes based on what
Yeah.
we experience, but those mistakes don't have to define us. So if you have showed up in public that way and you understand that you've made a mistake, we're adults, man enough to go back and say, you know what, brother, sister, I made a mistake. I was wrong in that point. You know, I shouldn't have spoken to you that way. I shouldn't have approached you that way. I shouldn't have, and then make it right. You
Yeah.
will be the better person for it mentally, emotionally, spiritually, because you've now cleansed your own palate and allow yourself to walk away a healthier version of yourself because of it.
Dope.
I talked
Quick, I
about that.
wanna
Oh no, go ahead, Mike.
real quick, I wanna underscore what you just said because that was 10 tons of game heavy right there.
That's
If for
heavy.
nobody else, then for me, just that's his personal side. Maybe somebody else will see this.
Mm-hmm.
They didn't notice it or they'll pick it up from here. But um, I like what you said about how those responses. Think you can even generalize it to an extent, but going to certain places mentally, whether that's how you respond to somebody, physical actions, or even just mental with your thinking. I like how you refer to that as a cost that you have to pay, and now that you have to go and you have to pretty much work it off. You pretty much have to pay the money back, so to speak. And I like that concept because I don't think that's necessarily anything novel, but I've just never heard that expressed in that way. And I think that's a very valuable and important concept or a mental model to have for everybody going forward. Because so often, if we take that concept that you just put out there, we be mad reckless with our spending.
Yeah,
Like
man.
we f up
Make
the
it
bag
rain,
heavy.
man. Make it rain.
We literally got the Scrooge McDuck money bag and we slice that thing open and all the
Currency,
budget comes
man.
pouring out.
Currency.
And
Currency.
um a lot of us will overspend in that regard, and it sets us back in one way, shape, or form or fashion. And now we have to spend time, whether we're doing it consciously or otherwise, trying to make up what we lost. So, and that takes us different forms, right? So maybe touching on some of the things you said earlier, maybe you end up blowing up on on your child,
Right.
and something that's small becomes the major, and now you might have felt good at the moment. It felt good to get that out your system, yeah, because that was killing you, it was crushing your back. But the cost of that might be now you've just done some serious damage to your relationship with your
Right.
child,
Right.
and so now you're no longer. So now she's no longer a daddy's girl.
Right.
So she's no longer your little man. Now he has different difficulty trusting you.
Right.
Or maybe you go and you say something that's really, really sharp to your significant other, and now you just completely sabotage how she's able to relate to you. She's cutting you off. She doesn't want to speak to you. She doesn't want to see you. Just being around you is causing distress. So now you have to spend time in making it up to her, or the time spent away from her where there's a disconnecting relationship. Some people lose jobs that way. Some people lose friendships, or
Right.
some people get kicked out of their apartment or whatever because they did something they can't easily walk back. And those are just extreme cases, but sometimes it's a lot more internal. But there's always a cost. And so when we're
Mm,
not cognizant of that, we end up taking some major setbacks in life that we
right.
didn't need to if we would have just been more mindful about what is this going to cost me. And sometimes you might make that evaluation and come to the conclusion, well, you know what? I've been real good with my spending. I'm about to go trick something today. What's
Hey,
up?
hey, every now and then, every now and then,
Hey,
you know,
I've been good. I got a Christmas bonus. I'm about to go. I'm about
every
to raise
now
some
and then,
hell
every
because
now
I
and
can
then,
afford it. I
you
can
know.
splurge.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
sometimes you might say, you know what? Not today.
Right.
Maybe
Yeah.
next time. Next
Think
time I'm
of
not
it.
gonna let it go. But this time, let me just, let me leave my balance in the black for a little bit. I'll come back later on if necessary. I appreciate that, brother.
Oh man, no doubt,
Yeah.
man. I was
Yeah.
saying, think of it as a superpower, you know, and it literally is. When you have adrenaline and cortisol pumping into your system, you can do some incredible things when you have to do those things for that specific purpose. But on
Mm.
the other end, when you have adrenaline and cortisol in your system and you're in fight or flight mode, you can do some heavy damage that we don't necessarily intend to do because we have so much power in us at that time. But
Yeah.
the power that we have sometimes a lot of times minimize our intellectual capacity. So
Yeah.
we have a lot of power with no intellect. You know, one of my favorite superhero characters, man, is Incredible Hulk because of his dynamic between his physical power and his mental intellect. You know, that character can definitely be seen as a black man because we do have the intellect, but what we don't understand is that sometimes our physical power minimize what we then have access to because all we do is manage the physical and not pay attention to the mental. That's really where the power really is. So what he does to manage his anger, because all of us have anger, which is natural, is that he's understand how to create access to that anger when it's necessary to then become a stronger version of himself to defend what's his. And so for us, I need that adrenaline. I need that cortisol. If you come for me and mine, I got you. You know what I'm saying? And so when it's necessary, I can use it. But I remember being triggered by the things that didn't necessarily need to trigger me, and I showed up as a person who created more trauma than alleviated it. You know, you show up as the bad guy because you don't know how to check your tone or check your attitude or check your bravado or check your masculinity or check whatever it is. You show up in a room and you change the temperature by your discomfort. You know, so you become the person that changes everything because you don't understand how your negativity, your own trauma is impacting those around you. You know, so our job is to be aware and understand that when you need it, it's there for you. It's a part of you. That's why it's a beautiful thing to understand your brain and understand what happens when we're either regulated or deregulated so you can utilize it. You know, I want to be able to jump a fence if an alligator's chasing me, you know what I'm saying? I'll climb a tree.
Yeah.
That's the autonomic nervous system. It's going to give you that boosted energy to do those things when it's necessary. You know, swim faster, jump faster, have more, stamina, when you need it, But when you don't need it, when our kids don't need it and it keeps showing up in their system, it slows down their mental capacity, their capacity to learn, their ability to recall information, their short and long-term memory is impacted, so they can't even test healthy because their brains are traumatized. So it is a superpower. We just have to pay attention to it, brother.
That's you're so correct on that. I on a program, couple programs back, I had talked about how a guy stepped on my shoe in the club, and I said that
classic.
Yeah, and I said that I told the guy sorry, right? I told the guy sorry, my bad, and the guy looked at me like, nah, I stepped on your shoe. My bad. And then we end up conversing. Next thing you know, we're at the bar exchanging shots and exchanging business, right?
Right.
And I did that because the normal route is to get mad.
Right.
And then it escalates to fight or maybe somebody kills somebody and somebody in the jail.
Yeah.
So at that moment, I said, let me try something different as far as damage control. And also just to push the energy in a different direction. Right. So, and it worked out.
Yeah.
And I tell people this story all the time because you can find alternate ways. It might not be that way that I described, but it's something that you can do at that moment that can shift it away from it going all the way left. And I don't have energy. Ever since that day, I don't have energy for Black people. I don't have energy for Black people. And what I mean by that is that I love my people enough for me to walk away than to be mad and angry at you. Because at the same instance, we're fighting the same war. We're fighting the same enemies. You got pressure in your household or people that's pressuring you. I have the same pressure as well. My fight, if I'm going to fight, is going to be against some racists. I'm not fighting my brother and sister. I'm going to save that energy for racist people. That's my whole thing. So ever since I changed that mindset, I've always had great interaction with my peoples. And it saves everybody in the long run, especially extended families. And that's something that we try to teach here on Manversations, is to get a way where you can coexist with your peoples. You're going to have people out there that you just don't agree with. Some of them, your friends, families, and you just know the distance, because that's kind of like setting a boundary, a mental boundary. And you set those boundaries because that way they're not in a vicinity for them to trigger you into that being where now you're at war, where it escalates all the way up. So just know your boundaries with certain people and you can progress and save your energy for, like you said, when it threatens your family, when it threatens your livelihood, that's when you need to be at your incredible Hulk moment.
There you
So
go.
Real
that's what,
shit. Yeah.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Well
yeah.
said, sir. Well
Yeah.
said.
Um, I want to say trigger warning, right? I want to show something right now, but I want to say trigger warning. So if you are a person that's going to get triggered about what I'm about to show, and you don't want to even see it, and you know that it's just by me saying trigger warning, you can leave now. Give you the little 10-second grace period to exit out if you need to. But I think this is a very important topic, and it's very heart-wrenching that I saw this on social media by a bunch of women, and I think as a community, we need to do better. And especially as men, we need to do better. One thing that we promised here on Manversations is to create better men. Yes, we know that there's women out there that are very toxic. We try to give you as much information and wisdom to stay away from those women. But inside our own enclave of Black men in the Black community, we have some toxic and dusty Negroes, and we have to weed them out. And this topic right here, what I'm about to show you, is very sensitive, but we want to get to the root problem of it and also to get a therapy advice, a professional advice on how do we clean this area up that has been plaguing us for a very long time. So with that being said, I'm going to show you this. This has been going around on social media. So I blocked out the women's name, and this was public. As you can see, it's a world, it's public, but I still wanted to block out their name because I wanted to at least keep them private. They could be public on their aspect, but this being a platform on a national, I just want to make sure that I blocked out their name. So these women had a thread going around, and a bunch of women commented on it, and it really saddens me to see that these women actually participate in it, but they're doing it in a form of a mental way, as a way of crying out and letting people know what happened to them. And my heart goes out to them. They're survivors. They're still here on earth. They didn't commit suicide. They did not, give up after this traumatic experience. But these women were victims of predators growing up. One girl says, I was 6, I was 7, I was 8, I was 9, I was 10, I was 11, I was 12, I was 13, I was 14 by my mother's brother, my uncle. I was 3, I was 16, I was 18. Another girl, I was 16, I was 18, I was 19, I was 20. I thought this was it actually kind of almost brought tears to my eyes because, as you know, the more and more as the world goes on, we're being more and more sexually active. We're being more and more sexually provocative. Um, we don't see a lot of discipline that we talk about on here. Everything is so much sexualized. We want to break it down and bring it back to where sex isn't even on your mind until it is a consensual part where both of you guys have planned and agreed on that, because now I feel like everybody's just doing the sex. There was a video of a guy, a little boy, he had to have been about 18, I want to say about 18, 19, and he had sex with a homeless woman, and he did it without a condom, and they was like, yo, this homeless woman has HIV, and he got up and his mouth just dropped, and he didn't know. And I'm like, you're that thirsty for sex that you now put your body in total risk and almost killed yourself, depending on if you contracted it right then and there from that woman. But for you to jeopardize that just for sex, it means that we have a large problem that we need to address. So,
Mhm.
being a clinical therapist, I just want to know, what is your um, advice to something like this, and how do we go about um, basically getting that off? I mean, basically, how do we go about trying to clean that up a bit in our community?
Yeah, I think one of the things we have to do is be able to talk about sex without creating the taboo feeling or emotion around it. We've done a poor job for a very long time talking about sex without feeling icky or feeling guilty or feeling shameful. And so the result that happens is that if we can't talk about it publicly, then the shame of what happens to us never gets spoken about because sex isn't a topic that we can talk about whether it's good or bad. So when the bad happens, we can't talk about it. If it's good, we can't talk about it. We have to normalize those conversations to be able to talk about the good and the bad, to be able to have safe spaces for people, specifically our kids.
Mm-hmm.
Let me slow down. Specifically our kids to be able to come to us and feel like they can talk about it. So our job is to make sure that our understanding is aligned with what we want our kids to understand. Some of us, listen, man, doesn't matter the age. A lot of us can benefit from a re-education of sex, intimacy, and a lot of other stuff. That is a great book right there. Man, Heal Thyself. I have that book on my shelf right there that I'm working through right now. So great book. But a lot of us can benefit from from a renewal understanding of intimacy, which is the conversation around everything that can lead to, but not necessarily sex, and the way we think about it, And so I think what we're looking at is how do we create an intimate environment that people feel safe enough to be sexual without feeling villainized, Meaning, if your kids are curious about sex, we don't have to shame them and make them feel dirty because they're curious, And so if we create a safe environment for us to talk about intimacy from what it is to be in the same room with the person and feel intimate, or being on a virtual space with four brothers and feel like you're safe enough and feel intimate, versus being physically in contact with the person and being intimate, or being intellectually intimate with the person. There are so many ways we can be intimate. And so opening up that understanding so the focus won't primarily just be on sex. If we can do that more, if we can speak more about how each one of us connect and what an attraction is versus an infatuation, what are the steps as it relates to building intimacy versus dating and all that. If we can clean that up and come to some level of having a standard, then what we can do is offer the next generation a safer environment to play around and be curious in. I don't think we had that safety
Great
to be
point.
curious and ask those questions and gain understanding. We have to learn from porn, from Uncle Luke videos on the box,
Yeah.
or BT and cut,
It's
Get
crazy, man.
that
But that's a
antenna,
good point.
right? You know what I'm saying? So a lot of it is us doing a better job of making a safe space where we can talk about sex, whether it's in the church, whether it's in our homes, whether it's in school. We just got to be okay talking about it. It's not a bad thing. It's a part of what naturally keeps us here. So we have to learn how to talk about it in the understanding of growing intimacy. Sex is a small part of intimacy. It's not the whole of it, but when we only focus on the sex, we leave out a lot, as far as our kids understanding on how to connect with each other on basic levels, and then growing that to a full and healthy relationship where you can stay and be intimate with each other. And it has nothing to do with just sex. It has something to do with sex, but it's not fully revolved around sex. So just making our environment safe, whether it's online, making our environment safe where people can talk about it without feeling dirty or feeling, bad or guilty about having these experiences, and also making sure that in private, in the privacy of our own home, at our dinner tables with our friends, we can talk about our experiences and normalize some of these experiences. Not saying that the trauma is what we need to normalize. We need to normalize those conversations where people may have had trauma, or those conversations where people may not be talking about trauma, but may be curious sexually, So all of it has to be safe enough for us to talk about. And that starts with our own understanding and our own safety as far as what we are willing to listen to and share.
Yeah, great point. The reason why I brought that up is because I have dealt with a woman who went through a lot of that trauma and abuse, sexual abuse from people that she loved. And it was very hard for me to love her because she didn't get over that. And I've offered to even go to therapy with her, but she was so turned off by two therapists that were women that violated her confidentiality and telling her
Wow,
family members what
man.
was said in that. So now she doesn't even want to get involved with any therapy, even though I offered to get in there, and I had to cut that loose because it was so far, she was so far damaged that I was healed and it was bringing me down. Like, so I had to cut that off before it ended up damaging me on that end. But she's a very wonderful woman. But I just feel like a lot of times men have issues with a lot of women out here, but a lot of women have been through that type of sexual trauma that is hard for them to even trust or love somebody,
Yeah,
which now causes friction
yeah.
whenever these type of women get in the dating
Got
scene.
you.
So that's why I really
I
brought
got
that
you.
up, because I don't want, I always told people this, because they always say I'm an empath, and they
Yeah.
always say that I gravitate to women who are a little bit broken. And I always say, well, everybody pretty much gravitates to that because of the simple fact that I when I was growing up, I was damaging women that other men had to repair.
Mm.
So my karma was I had to pick up women that other men damaged and had to repair as my retribution.
Mhm.
So
Wow.
it's kind of crazy that a lot of people don't see it in that way.
Mhm.
But if you have damaged women in your past and then you come across women that's damaged, that kind of, to me, that's my personal experience, that I feel like the karma's coming back to you, because those
Agreed.
are the women that you no longer are around. Some other man had to repair them
Yeah,
and make
Hmm.
them either a great wife or whatever, but
yeah,
they had to do a lot of damage for what you did.
yeah.
And now you are brought brought women that
Anthony,
other men
let
damaged,
me help
and
you
you
out a
got to
little bit,
put in the
man.
work to help rebuild them as well. So that's why I brought
Yeah.
that topic up, to
Let me help
try
you
to
out a
stop
little.
the cycle.
Let me help you out a little bit, man. One
Yeah.
of the things that we're going to have to learn, all of us will have to learn, is that we're going to have to stop seeing ourselves as damage,
Mm,
meaning it doesn't matter where you are. All of us, like you said, either all of us are damaged or none of us are damaged,
yeah.
And so that's a language issue that sometimes we sometimes own up to too easily,
Mm,
damaged goods, whether you're a man or a woman. That's not what you are.
mm,
That's not what you are. You are valuable exactly where you are. And it
mm,
takes a person such as yourself and to see that value in that person
mm,
sometimes to assist.
mm,
But now let me give some freedom to a lot of men and women out there who are listening. If you are an adult and you are in a relationship, and take this to the bank, please cash this in immediately. That person's emotions are not your responsibility.
mm,
And it may sound harsh, man, but listen, as an adult, another adult's emotions are not your responsibility. It's their own responsibility to understand, right?
mm,
Understand, be aware of, and be able to manage it at all times. If we are involved with that person romantically or in a friendship or any type of relationship, we can assist, and managing, but it's not our responsibility to be able to manage that person's emotion when they can't even manage it themselves.
Mm.
And so, but it's not about them being damaged, it's about their health. If we look
mm,
at it as health, we look at something that's unhealthy versus something that's damaged in a different way. you know if I say, man, this car is damaged, man, I'm like, dang, what's wrong with it?
mm,
But if you say it's unhealthy, then you say, okay, if it's unhealthy, then there's ways to get it back to health. We can
mm,
work something out to help this. And so health, think about healthy and unhealthy, not necessarily good or bad, health or unhealthy. And when you hear unhealthy, there's a pathway towards health. If you have
mm,
breath in your lungs, if you have capacity in your brain, in your body, there's always a pathway to health. So maybe the way we should talk about some of these relationships are how I was unhealthy at the time, how this person was unhealthy at the time, how I got to my health, and that person may not have gotten to their health. And even though this person may not be with me right now, I still see the value in that person, where if they worked on their health, we could probably have a great relationship,
mhm.
But it's
Exactly.
valuing your health. When you say that word damage, like, like certain words in our vocabulary, this English language sometimes is damaging. The way we speak about ourselves and others sometimes can devalue the way we think, and then devalue the way we feel, and then devalue the way we interact. So I used to think I was damaged goods. I used to think I was damaged goods because of how many people I damage. And so if I'm damaging, then I'm damaged myself, and then so that cycle perpetuated itself to where then I believe that I only deserve the damage. And then so I will attract that, therefore, which I am. And so if the person across from me, more likely than not, that's where I am too. And so I had to start seeing myself as valuable so then I can pull in what's valuable on the outside of me as well.
Correct.
Wherever you are, you have value. And if you see yourself as valuable, then you would value yourself enough to then pour into it, meaning invest. Like if you have a nice car, man, you want to keep it nice, right? You want to make sure that oil change, tire rotate, white, what's it called? Black magic for the tires. You're going to do whatever you can to make that car look and feel good. And so because you value it, whatever you value, you invest in. So we have to value ourselves enough to see that I may be unhealthy right now, but I can invest to my health. And my unhealthiness isn't in all areas. You know what I'm saying? Sometimes we take that damaged word and we put it on the whole of the person when it's just one specific area that they may need to manage and become a healthier version of themselves. So we have to then be careful of how we choose to speak of ourselves and the people who we interact with.
Heavy. Great response. Real quick, I just want to go over some of the comments.
Yes.
The book referral that was made Anubis TV, that was Man Heal Thyself by Queen Afua. That was also co-signed by Matt Genius.
Yeah.
So apparently we need to get that book.
Definitely.
A. Stanford says, great show, guys. We need more therapists like your guest. Does he have any ideas on how to get more brothers into this profession?
Yes, I do, man. Yes, I do, man. As a licensed marriage and family therapist, I've seen and helped younger brothers get into this field. I've wrote recommendation letters. I've mentored. I've allowed them to intern at my office. If they need me and they find me, they reach out on social media or personally. I talk to them. I give them the time of day. But I think what's really going to get more people like you and I in this field is that I got to get paid more. Straight up, man. More men want to go where the money is. We don't want to go into a career where we're going to be slumming and can't take care of our family. So you got to show this profession love. And I think it starts by valuing it. We pay the professions who we think are more valuable, more money. And I think part of it is that we don't value mental health. So we don't pay. Bro, I want to be the first mental health professional that's signed to $1 million contract. And when that happens, more people are gonna be like, hey, yo, you paying how much for mental health? And then it becomes the thing that people want to go after. Straight up. Like I want to be signed to like a basketball NFL player, a multi-year contract, multi-million-dollar contract, man. And I'm saying this publicly because I know my value. I know what I bring to the table. A lot of what you guys talked about are in our athletes, our entertainers, losing their careers, losing their pathways to success because they can't manage their mental and emotional state. Imagine if some of these players from way back in the day, man, I'm old school. I remember Maurice Claret, Maurice Claret played for Ohio State. Running back, was crazy talented. Marcus Vick, Michael Vick's younger brother, way better than Vick, stronger, faster, more accurate. Mental and emotional states. They can't manage those things. And so they didn't have the career they should have had because they imagine if they had somebody such as myself in their life earlier. Understand how to, that's millions of dollars in their pocket. Man,
real talk.
Man, shift some of that $1 million in your contract to me. You
feel
me?
Real talk.
Right? And so honestly, what's really going to help our people, one, not just this, man, and I'm talking light, but I'm also talking some truth, is create more value for my profession.
Correct.
Make us sexy, make us popular, like invite me to your show. You know what I'm saying? Letting people see us and interact with us and understanding that we're people just like they are. We make mistakes just like they do. We go through issues just like they do. The more we have opportunities like this to be on platforms where people can see us and scrutinize us, be like, man, I like that guy's hat. Right? But he did drop some facts though, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So whatever it is, let them feel what they feel. But the more we can neutralize what we do as mental professionals in front of the people so they can see us as people and the value that we bring, life-changing value, man. I'm talking about not for this generation, but 3 or 4 generations after. Because you can go backwards and trace your trauma 3 to 4 or 5 generations back. And so that trauma has a lasting impact. If we don't do the corrective right now, it's going to cost us in the future. So invest now so you can save later.
That's heavy. We need to definitely make sure we have you back on in that regard, man.
Oh,
you know what I'm saying? You got to have this guy back on. This guy's the friend of the show.
Yeah, we definitely need him to come back on because we also want to see his presentation so we could do a show for your presentation so we could get the in-depth of what people don't understand on the other side that you have the clinical knowledge on. And I think it helps people to understand the mental health a lot better when they see it from different angles and not the repeated process that we see. Now, I know we spit some heavy stuff. We got to get out of here, but we got another segment. And, you know, our therapist is going to be in this segment, too. So we're going to see his fun side to see how he get jiggy with this, you know. Hey,
all right.
So don't knock our therapist. Listen, don't knock our therapist about his answers. You know, his answers versus his profession.
Let's go.
Hey, man.
I'm only human, man. Let's go.
Don't judge him by his answers. All right. So our segment is hell nah or hell yeah. So let's get it, fellas. Let's get it. All right. Ready? Let's go. All right. So the first one, Ayanna Van Desant.
Hell no.
I don't even know who that is.
No?
What?
You know,
Ayanna Van Zant.
Ayanna Van Zant. Yeah, Anthony always be saying her name wrong. Ayanna Van Zant.
Ayanna Van Zant.
Yeah, hell yeah, I like her.
I like her. Hell yeah.
Hell no.
You don't like her? Oh man,
not that I don't like her. I actually did like her until my mom told me about her. And like I got the background on the book. And like I started doing some research on her and how when she says she's a terrible mother, she is a terrible mother or was a terrible mother. There's a lot of stuff going on behind the person that we may see on the program. It's a lot going on over there.
Well, what I saw projected on the Breakfast Club, and she was giving women the truth and telling them what they need to tighten up on. I like that aspect of it.
I like what I saw there. Yeah. I like what I saw there until I found out it's a whole lot more going on. That's all I'm saying. Yeah.
All right, cool.
Read her book.
I'm gonna say hell yeah on that now. I don't know how much of that is present, how much is in the past behind her. What I will say is, regardless of wherever she is or where she was, if she's grown and who we see now is where she's at now, then you know, praise God, salute for the growth. I love it. I embrace that. Yeah. If that's not quite where she is, if there's some kind of fence straddling, dilly dally, whatever, then at the same time, I'm just gonna, you know, nod to the positive. I'm gonna take the negative to the side. I'm just gonna try and I'm not gonna throw the baby out with the bathwater. So what she has to say, hell yeah. Who she might be as a person, hell nah.
Right.
And I don't know about what that she had to say either, because if you listen to the whole thing. But go ahead. Number 2. All
right. Number two, Professor Black Truth. Hell yeah.
Hell yeah.
Hell yeah.
My guy.
Denver Nuggets. Hell no.
Well, hold up. What did Matt say? You know who he is? I didn't even hear your answer.
Nah, I don't know who that is, man.
Oh, you don't know who Professor Black Truth? Oh, I thought he said yeah.
Nah,
check him out.
Check him out. I will check him out.
I will for your way.
Yeah.
All right, Denver Nuggets. Hell no, not from me.
Hell no.
They playing against the Heat. They playing against my Heat.
I have a problem with them right now.
We are neck deep in the finals. It's war. Hell no.
This is personal. This is personal.
Oh wow.
Bees and disease.
All right, Dutch Pot. Hell yeah.
Hell no. Hell no. Hell no. Hell no.
More fire.
Horrible.
Hold on. All right, so Matt, you like Dutch Pot?
More fire. Let's go, man.
Nah, bro.
Matt,
but okay.
Matt say he don't like Dutch Pot?
No, I like it. Let's go.
Okay.
No, Matt, no. Major say he don't like Dutch Pot.
I don't like
explanation.
Okay, so Bob, you like Dutch Pot?
I want some right now. What you mean?
I like Dutch Pot.
Are they open?
right, DJ Academics. Hell no.
Hell no.
I'm not
Hell
messing.
no.
Hell no.
That's my
Hell
cousin.
no.
That's my cousin's best friend.
Word?
I just found that out last year. Yeah.
Can't do it, bro. Can't do it.
I'd
Did Matt
question your
Panther
cousin's
that one?
choices.
Hold up.
DJ
Matt, did you?
Academics. I don't like his vibe. So.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay.
I don't like his vibe. I don't like his vibe.
Amazon-
I don't know him enough. I don't know him personally, but you know the profession side of it. I don't really rock with it.
Yeah. I feel you on that. Amazon.com. Nah, I don't. Amazon putting out a lot of business, man.
Hell yeah. I'm
Yeah.
sorry.
You
I
like
get
it?
anything on Amazon.
They putting out a lot of people out of business, man. I don't like that
As
time.
as annoying as it may be about it, I gotta say hell yeah, because them packages keep coming to my door. What
Keep coming to my door, but one way or another,
Get
man.
that shit overnight.
Yeah, man.
my bank account says hell yeah.
Same day. What?
All right, Michael Moore.
Hell yeah. Hell
Who's
yeah.
Michael Moore again?
Michael Moore, he's the one. He's a filmmaker.
Filmmaker.
Oh him.
Bowling for
I'm
Columbine.
gonna say hell
What
yeah.
he did? What he did? Which
Bowling for Columbine,
He did
Sicko.
that.
He did.
451 degrees
Oh, that's
Fahrenheit.
that's the
Fahrenheit
white guy that's
451?
heavy set.
The fat
Yeah.
guy, yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. He's a truth teller. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I rock with him
For the most
heavy.
part, give him a hell yeah.
Okay. All right. Lola Brooke. Who's that?
The rapper. Don't play with it, don't play with it, don't play with it, don't play with it.
Oh no.
Oh,
Hell ass no.
No.
What is that?
I like Rhapsody, dog. No.
Rhapsody's dope.
Yeah.
Matt would not get your hell yeah as a hell dog.
Listen, man. I haven't even listened to one of her songs.
right. I don't.
You haven't
So I
heard
guess
Don't Play
it's hell
With
not
It?
by default.
Nah, not.
I've heard that.
I've heard that part, but I haven't listened to the whole thing.
Right.
I can't say I've heard a verse outside of Don't Play With It.
Matt is practicing mental health.
Protecting his peace.
Maybe, man.
He's protecting his peace.
All right, MMA. Yes, hell yeah.
Hell yeah.
Hell yeah.
Hell yeah.
Hell yeah.
I love to see somebody get the snot beat out of him. I love it. I love
beautiful
it.
art.
That thing
Speaking
is serious.
of, I think it's a perfect opportunity. Big ups, kudos to the GOAT, Amanda Nunes. She fought her last fight last night, dominated, convincing fashion. So, and I'm also glad for her too. You know, a lot of times in the fight game, a lot of fighters, you know, they leave when they're at the bottom. You know, they can't do it physically anymore, or on a losing streak. But she left out. I think she had I think she had 2 fights straight, but she was successful because she got her belt back from Juliana Pena. But she went out not just on top, but as a 2 division champion, unheard of. All the best to her and her future endeavors. So
Monster.
I love it.
All right, Kendrick Lamar. Hell yeah.
Hell yeah.
All day.
Hell yeah.
EKDOT put TNT inside your suit. Oh, walk inside of man.
He's a monster, man. That boy is a problem.
All day.
Her. I like her music.
Hell yeah. She plays instruments. Hold up.
Nice.
When the last time you seen a musician play an instrument? Hold up.
Nice.
Lizzo played
All right, now.
Lizzo played the
I was about to say don't go.
What happened?
Lizzo, man. Lizzo doing no.
Oh, okay.
I was afraid I was gonna get sued. I was like,
Yeah, well, I mean,
Uh-huh.
I was in the marching band, man. So I know a lot of flute players, man. So.
Hey, bro.
True.
Listen, it's so hard. I be trying to give Lizzo the benefit of the doubt.
She talented, man. I'm telling you.
She is talented. I wish she would focus on what she know how to do so we can hear more headlines about her talent than seeing her shake her ass all over the place and run around half naked and crying because people keep, talking about her weight. She be tripping, bro.
I'd love to be on for that show, man. Whenever that show comes out.
Yeah.
Right.
She can play the hell out of that flute.
Yeah.
She actually can, which surprised me. But
yeah, she's very talented. I actually enjoy her.
Yeah, I liked her last album. It was dope. Yeah. But her antics. Go ahead.
BMF TV show.
Ooh, hell yeah.
Yeah, it's decent.
Haven't seen it yet, but I hear
Haven't
good things.
seen-
I'm gonna
haven't seen-
Bruh.
Haven't seen.
I'm gonna
one
give it a hell
episode.
yeah on credit.
Yeah.
Hell yeah.
Haven't seen one episode.
Oh,
Matt,
okay.
I don't know if that's good for your mental health, bro. Like, let me tell you something. 50 Cent, for what it's worth,
Uh-huh.
that boy can tell a story.
He can.
Yeah.
What I appreciate
Whoa.
about 50 is that he learned how to pivot, and they went from
Yeah.
telling stories
Yes.
in his art.
Yes.
And so that part I could appreciate. I just feel like there's another story of success that we could tell, man. You know?
Oh,
Yes.
yeah.
That's the problem.
I also agree with that as well too.
That's
Yeah.
the problem.
Exactly.
There has to be some stories that come out about a person such as like the guy who invented the super soaker. Where's
Yeah.
his show at? You know?
Yeah.
Yeah, I talked about that.
You know, like
I talked about that because I said they're coming out with Color Purple, and I was like, look, we've seen Color Purple for what it was. We don't need another rendition or revamp of Color Purple. Listen, leave that alone. Where is the John Horse movie?
right.
Right.
You know, one of the greatest leaders, a revolutionary.
The
person.
Lewis Latimer movie.
We need to hear about Don Peebles.
Yeah.
Peebles, one of the
We
major
talk-
real estate moguls of this country.
Yeah.
Right.
So thank God for Tariq Nasheed for putting 1804 out. But where is the real movie? Like that's a documentary type movie style
man,
movie.
a lot. So
like a real movie, like a real version of
BMF. I think I was watching Ghost at one point in time.
Yeah.
Power. I think it was.
Yeah, Power was.
And I stopped watching.
Yeah,
I stopped watching a lot of those shows, man, because they were traumatizing.
Exactly.
They were traumatizing. Man.
Exactly.
I witness. If you witness murder and you watch it on television, it's traumatizing for you. So.
Exactly.
Insane. That's why I say. Yeah, some of these shows, it might not be the greatest for your mental health, but as far as the entertainment value of the show, phenomenal show.
I'm sure, man. I'm sure. You know, and it's not that I don't watch like those specific shows are personal to me because that type of lifestyle was very close to the lifestyle of people that were close to me.
Right.
So when
I feel you.
Yeah, so
I feel you.
All right. So T-Pain. Yeah, I like T-Pain.
Hell no. No.
Like
hell no.
No.
No. No.
T-Pain had all this.
Yeah, man.
I hate them simp anthems. He's the simp anthem.
Tallahassee Payne, man.
Oh my God, he is the simp anthem greatest of all time. No.
Are you telling us, Major, that you're not in love with the scripper?
Okay.
She's got the body of a goddess.
Oh my
Got
God.
eyes, got a peak and brow. You see that girl? What?
He always talking about simping. Always tricking.
You don't like the song with Chris Brown?
No.
She wants that love and devil. That kiss. And her mind, she fantasized about getting with. Hey,
he got some catchy songs, but his simping is just otherworldly.
All right. Jordan
his
Retro.
simping is traumatizing. Oh, go ahead.
All right. Jordan Retro 15.
Hell no.
I don't know what they look like, man.
Hell no.
The 15s,
they look like boats.
They look like what, Ed?
Let me Google them real quick. The 15.
I put them in the chat. I put them in the chat, Ed. Put them up on the screen.
Nah.
You put it in the chat?
That's enough for me.
You see the hell no.
I'm gonna be honest. For most things, I'm. If there's one thing that would ever get my black card tossed in the garbage and shredded, it would be the fact that I've never been moved by Jordans, not a day in my life.
Oh, word!
I've never been a Jordans fan. Shoot, my most favorite pair of Nikes has always been the Vandals. The Vandals could always get me. So when people are like, man, Jordans coming, I'm like, yeah, man, but them Vandals though, bro.
I ain't never even heard of those, man. But
or
okay,
Cortez, whatever. But I've never been a Jordan dude. Cortez is lit too. The Vandals.
I used to live out west, so you know.
And I've always been more Adidas than Nike anyway. So I mean, I respect the kicks though.
This next one is pretty close to what the topic we talked about today. I didn't bring them up today, but DC Young Fly.
Yeah, hell yeah. Hell yeah.
I like DC Young.
I like DC Young Fly.
I like his
solid guy.
I like his growth.
He's actually he's pretty funny. He's actually funny too. He's really funny.
He's funny as hell.
Funnier than I would expect.
He's going through some mental issues right now. You know, just having the loss of his wife.
Prayers to that brother.
Was he married? Right? He was married, or
No,
I think
He
no,
was
they weren't
married.
Oh,
married.
okay.
he was his partner.
But
So his
prayers to that
girlfriend.
brother, because that's a
Yeah.
huge loss, man.
Yeah, yeah. And I saw his it's on social media. There's showing part of his eulogy, like what he was saying to his wife, and it was very, very dope.
Yeah.
You could tell it takes a lot of growth for what he said.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and deep down inside, he's hurting.
Of
And now
course.
he has to take care of his 4 children, and that's not an easy job to do for a man to do like that.
Mm-hmm.
Most women are caregivers, nurturers. It's a little bit easier for them than a man, but now he has to take those responsibility. And my hats go off to him and prayers to him. And
Real
y'all
talk.
just keep DC in his prayers, man, and keep him
Mm-hmm.
in high spirit. All
And
right.
that sister as well. She was a really good sister too. Everything I hear about this woman is positive. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like from
Yeah.
what I hear, she was a really good sister. And that was. I mean, it's just way too early. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So R.I.P. to that sister as well. That's a horrible loss and a horrible thing for them to deal with.
Definitely. TikTok. Uh, oh gosh.
Hell no.
I
Hell
I, I
no.
want to I want to say hell nah, but I know a lot of black creators that make great money off of TikTok, and it's a
Okay.
great platform for them. So in
Okay.
that aspect of it, I would say I'm on the fence on both sides.
All right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Bobby,
Uh,
Matt,
Yeah, I'm on the fence too.
yeah.
Same.
the gift and the
Um,
curse, right?
I think TikTok is very much down the line. There's definitely a whole lot of pros. There's definitely a whole lot of cons about it.
Yeah.
Mm,
But what I will say is that TikTok is something that can't be ignored and it's not going away.
Hmm.
TikTok is for this present young generation. TikTok is the medium.
yeah.
And it's not
Mm.
just a bunch of. I mean, we all get on the dances and the garbage trends that come out of there, but there's a lot of legitimate information that comes out of there. A lot of great instructions, a lot of guidance on things. It really is a coin toss. It depends on what you're really looking for on there. If you're looking for foolishness, you're gonna find it in spades. If you're looking for something that's constructive, productive, that's gonna better you and empower you and stuff, you're gonna be able to find it on there too. So I'd say the experience largely is gonna mirror who you
Exactly.
are.
Mm.
I will
All right.
say that.
Jamel Hill. Hell no.
Hell no.
Hell no.
Dang.
Hell no. Oh
Uh,
my God.
Well,
I guess
I'm
I
answering.
don't know enough, man. I don't know enough. I'm like, those are some strong reactions, man. I don't know
You never
enough.
watched ESPN?
I used to. I mean, I used to, and I used to like her. She had that show with the other light skinned brother. I can't remember.
Yeah, and maybe she has had some good shows, but unfortunately, this sister, she is one of the leading misandrists
Yeah, she's a
in the
misandrist.
entire industry.
Yeah.
Like, dude,
So
she is.
yeah, I don't know
Oh,
She's
enough.
a heavy misandrist.
she's a heavy
She hurt.
misandrist.
And
Yeah.
I hate the fact I hate to even talk about it because I used to be a huge Jamel Hill supporter back in the day. Like I was definitely riding for her, support a
Hmm.
lot of her content.
Yeah.
Not a fan of the turn she's taken.
She
Disappointed,
took
but
a
it is what
turn,
it
man.
is.
I don't know enough, man.
Yeah,
I
she
honestly
took a
Yeah.
don't.
turn.
And guess
I
what?
wish I didn't know what I do.
I probably won't even find out because I don't want that image of what I have in my mind of her to change, man. I
I
don't
Yeah.
want it.
I
I
feel
feel
you.
the
You know what I'm
same way.
saying? Like
I feel you. I
I
feel
have
you.
her still as a, yeah, man, Jamel
And,
Hill.
and the
Come on,
thing is,
come to the barbecue. She good.
and the thing is, it's black men specifically that she
Yeah,
shits on.
I don't.
Yeah.
That's the thing.
I haven't heard
Hey
that
man,
chance. I haven't heard
you're
So
you're
that
tainting
chance.
you're tainting his mental image, man. Fall back,
I'm a chill. I'm a
I
chill.
know, man. Like,
all
relax.
right, dear future wife podcast. Yes, I like that podcast.
Absolutely.
I love that podcast.
I love that
Shout
podcast.
out to
Love
the
that brother.
brothers, every brother that's out there doing great podcasts, man. Salute to you.
Very
Definitely,
soulful.
we definitely do a show with podcasts and highlight some good podcasts out there.
Definitely. That's a
Um,
great idea.
caviar. Oh no, I don't even.
Hell no.
I never ate it,
Hell
but
no.
I'm not eating no fish eggs. I damn near don't
Hell
even. I
no.
don't eat sushi, so nah, that's a no
It,
for
it
yeah,
tastes like it looked like it tastes.
that's a nod for me, man. Because
me.
yeah.
Now you know it's bad when your therapist don't want to eat it. So
Hey.
I'm not gonna say hell no. I haven't tried it yet. I'm open to the experience. So if I can get my hands on something, we're gonna see what it do.
All right.
But
All right, last but not least, Clark's. Hell yeah, I like Clark's.
Hell yeah.
I give
Hell
it
Yeah.
yeah.
Clark's.
Shout out to Vibes Cartel.
Yeah,
You
man.
Yes.
dig?
Clark's a classic for me, man.
World
Clark's a classic.
boss.
Clark's makes some of the best top-notch quality desert boots out of them. Things be perfect. The soles
Sick.
I'm from the. I was born in the
bleed.
Bahamas, man. You know, so
There you go.
Clark's
There you go.
Clark's was there way, way, way,
My
way, way
brother
back. Yeah,
242, yes sir.
Yeah, that's right. Because Bobby Drake is Bohemian.
Talk
That's right.
to make
yeah,
make
man.
these
Yeah,
The
people know.
Clark's. Yeah.
All right.
definitely. All right, so as you guys know, we're about to get up out of here. Before we get up out of here, we're gonna do our crown check segment, which is our next segment, and then we'll let the therapist close out and let him tell us where we can find. Because I'm getting text
With
messages
some
from
bars,
every.
with some bars, with some.
Yo, listen, I'm getting
There you
text
go.
messages.
And don't
There you
forget, we
go.
also closing out
I'm
on
getting
that legendary iconic track, I'm Black.
Oh yeah, let's
yes.
do it.
Don't
I'm
forget.
getting so many text messages from people that love our guest tonight, man. He's blowing them away with.
I
I'm getting
appreciate that. I
Facebook
appreciate
posts.
that. I appreciate
I'm getting
that.
everybody's just hitting me
Blessings,
up
yes.
talking about that since I've been on the program. We
Appreciate that.
Got the
appreciate that.
internet going nuts.
Yes, we
Appreciate that.
appreciate that. And it's like I tell people all the time, listen, I'm a huge advocate for professional people, but I love it when you get professional Black people that look
Mhm.
like us. Because we
Real talk.
always have this stigma that we don't think Black people are professional enough. And we think that people outside of what we look like is more professional than us. And that's far from the truth. Because I run across more Black professionals in our community than I run across professionals outside our community. And a lot of times those professionals outside the community charge you way too much and they tell you to kiss their ass and give you
Right.
their ass to kiss in the
Real
process.
talk.
And our people that look like us bend their back so much to do for us and we don't even realize or appreciate it. Just like Matt said earlier, sometimes they are cutting their costs just so that some of these young folks have access to at least experience what therapy looks like and to see if they want to invest in it even in the long term. That to me is the most powerful thing and the most powerful person that you can invest in because of that type of empathy that they go back and they can cut back their own expenses just to better somebody else. People outside of our community ain't doing that on a major label like how our people are doing it. So definitely wanted to put that out there. And we're definitely going to get into our next segment, which is Crown Check. This is where we highlight some of the dopest women in our community that has been doing phenomenal work for us and has been riders for us in the Black community. And tonight, I want to give you guys two people, right? And it's kind of the same person, but I want to show you the iconic one and the future iconic one, and both of them get the same name. And that person tonight is Fannie Lou Hammer, right? So
Right.
everybody knows about Fannie Lou. Fannie Lou is a phenomenal civil rights leader, activist. Man, she used to go hard for us back in the days. Very iconic, left a lot of legacy for us to even go back and research and even read up on. A lot of y'all could go back. It's so much there. I don't even want to get into reading everything that she has done. You guys check it out. Phenomenal, iconic sister. Even though she was declining in health, she still was out here riding for us. And that's crazy because a lot of times Black people have to put their health on the back burner just to be strong enough for not only themselves, their family, but also for our community. And shout out to her for doing that. And why I said that it was a double tonight is because the modern day Fannie Lou Hammer is, some of y'all might know her. I personally know her, and that's Valencia Gunder,
Yeah,
right?
I went
So
to school with
Valencia
her.
Gunder has been doing phenomenal work out here. We even have Valencia Gunder Day, which is February 28th.
Hey,
Very iconic. She was very iconic when it came down to hurricanes and making sure that when they hit Florida, None of the city workers and anybody responded faster than her. She aligned with a friend of mine in the Haitian community that has been doing very great work. And they together had been out here feeding over 15,000 people before the rescue units could bring food and water to these people. And a
Wow.
lot of, like I said, whenever things happen, Black people get hit the hardest because we have the least resources. So she built up the resources
Right.
enough before the hurricane came and out there supplied a lot of our peoples. And imagine if she didn't do that, how much people would have died out of starvation or just having people to come out there to help and assist them. So shout out to Valencia Gunda for being the modern day Fannie Lou Hammer. She also has a organization where she feeds the homeless. A lot of the homeless are Black men. A lot of people don't really realize or know that.
Mhm.
And she's been doing that for years. I've also went out there, viewed her going out there, assisted a couple of times of passing out food for the homeless. It was a great experience to go out there and see what she does day in, day out. You guys can follow Valencia and follow her page and her business page, which is Smile Trust Inc. That's what the Instagram page looks like. Also, Valindia Gunder, that's her Facebook page. You guys follow a phenomenal woman. They also opened up Freedom Lab. It's a grand opening that they had a couple months back. The address is right there, 4300 Northwest 12th Ave, Miami, Florida, 33127. Doing just phenomenal, great things and continuing the legacy that Fannie Lou Hammer has created. And she is following the footsteps and got the iconic name plastered to her as well. That's what people labeled her as. And this goes back to what I was saying earlier about how you have to be the change, right? So while you out here creating a legacy for yourself, you also creating a legacy for people that are born after you perish, that will pick up the same torch and the same footprints that you left and continue what you guys do. There might be a major laid down the years. Now, one of the youth be like, hey, I look up to Major, and now he's young Major, or he's young Bobby, or he's young Genius. You know what I'm saying? The legacy that you leave behind is so, so imperative because you are now, by you leading by example, you now create other leaders in the process because they follow and see what you have done. And that has been so impactful. So I definitely wanted to give that shout out to the past and the present and show you how
Appreciate that.
impactful that and inspirational that is. So yes, so now you guys have any last words, and I definitely want to leave it up to our guest speaker to close out tonight. So go ahead, fellas.
All right, so we gonna let Genius go last. So let me go ahead and just jump in right quick. Thank you so much for that crown check and for the introduction to Valencia Gunder. I didn't know who she was. Now that I do, I'm gonna go ahead and put some on her books. You know what I mean? Maybe go down and give out some free food, whatever the case may be. I've done it before with other people. Now I know there's a sister who's local. Oh, I'm gonna definitely get at her. So that's what's up. And that's a great thing. Shout out to the ancestor Fannie Lou Hamer. She was immeasurable, in her contribution to the struggle. So shout out to that ancestor as well. Um, I'm very thankful for us having Matt Genius on today. I learned a lot. This kind of dovetails with the last show that we did on protecting your peace, right? So I feel like it's a progression that makes sense. We go right into the whole mental health conversation because that is the larger conversation of protecting your peace. Some of the comments on this show have been really great. There's another one, after the last comment that Genius made, when we were talking about, the sports people and all that type of stuff, comments came in. Idea. Hey, to his point, team counselors should be part of every sports team, just like MDs, to be honest. And she goes on to talk about how lots of those guys need help.
Yes.
That my mind went almost immediately to Zion Williamson and what he's going through right now.
Yeah. And
You know
Ja
what I
Morant.
mean? John Morant, what he's going through right now. I mean, every other day, we have a high profile black person in the media, that doesn't really know how to articulate themselves and doesn't have a lot of training on media handling, right? And they're going through something, and it gets taken to the moon. It gets blown out of context a lot of times, or it ends up really hurting them. Kanye West is probably the greatest example recently that I can think of someone who needs, someone in their headspace, a Matt Genius in their headspace, or someone like that. So I'm going to tell everybody I know, and I'm going to encourage a friend to tell a friend. So, like our brother said, we can put some respect on their names, to get them the paper that they need to make other younger brothers want to come up and do what they do, because brothers go where the money is, because we
Right.
have to provide for our families. It's that simple. You know what I mean? And if we can get to that space where we are helping people in great numbers, and at the same time, we're able to make a grip, at the same time, we're able to change the world, really is what you're doing, you know
Mhm.
what I mean? Then I think that we can inspire a great change in that, and that can contribute to this much needed paradigm shift that we need, where we get out of the space where our minds are preoccupied with a lot of garbage and noise, so I really, really appreciate this, brother, and this show and this topic. And I think it's something that's extraordinarily important, particularly with black men, because as Anthony often points out, we're a lot more likely to commit suicide than the other gender. We are the ones that, the buck kind of stops with us, and we need to start seeking therapy. We need to start to, as he just said a moment ago, be the change, where we get out here and we're encouraging our brothers when we see them going astray. Hey, brother, come over here. Let me holler at you. I got somebody that I know, you know, like Matt said earlier, I value you enough to say to you, brother, you need to go and have some therapy. Let's take the stigma out of the you need therapy conversation. Let's do that. You know what I mean? If someone is saying to you, "Hey, man, you may want to go to therapy," or whatever the case may be, instead of just having a knee jerk reaction where you lash out at them, maybe you sit down and you hear what they got to say and the rationale behind why they're saying that to you, and maybe you make a decision to actually go. I think that a good number of us, maybe a majority of us, because of the things that we've experienced, as we touched on earlier in the show, in our childhood, man, we've had some horrible things that we've experienced and have had happen to us in our childhood. We do have a problem with perversion as a community, in the community, I should say, as Anthony earlier pointed out, where we need to, start teaching about intimacy in a different capacity and so forth. There were so many solid and heavy points that were touched on tonight. This is one for the books.
Oh yeah.
This is one for the books. We talked about a lot of important stuff tonight, and I'm confident that whoever sees this content, they're going to find value in it. And I give thanks for that.
Yeah, solid, definitely. Great.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Um. Yeah. Tonight was heavy. I'm definitely gonna probably end up playing this one back later on and just kind of digging through the storehouse and picking up some of the gems again. Just re-emphasizing some things that I did pick up on that I did hold on tight to. Um, Thank you again, Matt, for not thinking of it as robbery to take some time from yourself, from your family, from your own endeavors to chop it up with us and to be present. And I definitely like this because I think what you said is very important. How do we get more brothers into this field? Um, and not just how do we get more brothers in the field, but how do we get more people to actually become partakers
Mhm.
in mental health wellness? First off, I think for as much as we talk and discuss about mental health, because we know that right now for the last few years, mental health has been the buzzword, has been the trendy thing. Mental health, mental health, mental health awareness. People keep talking about it like it's some giant of the freaking hillside, but how many people actually even know right now? Hey, if I'm going through a mental crisis right now, or just
Mm.
general wellness, what's the first step? What does mental health look like? Mental health looks like Matt Genius, LMFT. It looks like him. It looks like some other people out there really getting some faces attached to this, and not some image of an encyclopedia, or Freud or something like that. Because I mean, especially anyone who's done any sort of foray into psychology or what have you, you got your Freuds, your Skinners, you have your different faces out there, but who today are our modern day Freuds? Who can we point to saying this is one of the people that was doing it at a big level, at a high level? They advanced the science. They helped a ton of people. We don't really have that out there, and I think like anything else, you got to start putting a brand on it.
Mm.
So if today could start, we're entering the Mad Genius era, or whoever else. I'd love that, and I'd love for us to be a catalyst towards that.
Mm.
Um, Going forward, however, I think that we really need to reemphasize it, beat the dead horse, beat the dead cow. We got to take our mental health seriously,
Mm.
and what that means is not just by using the term out loud, not just talking about it, but actually do the necessary work. Go and see somebody. Because we live an inside out life. We don't live life from the outside in. We live life from the inside out. Who we are in our innermost self, our state of being, that's what bleeds out, what sweats out, for better or for worse. So when our family and friends, our neighbors, our co-workers, the people who interact with us, when they're experiencing the best of us, that's because we're coming from a solid place on the inside. But if on the inside is rotten, if that's if it's stank, and if it's an odor coming out of from it, if it's spoiled, whatever, and people are suffering, that's what they're gonna have to deal with too. So, like Lauren Hill said, how are you gonna win if you ain't right within?
Mm.
Mm-hmm.
If the interior isn't
Mm-hmm.
on point,
Mhm.
nothing you're gonna produce is gonna be of value. At best, you're gonna be producing a half bastardized version of what you could be producing. But if you were properly healthy, if everything was in alignment, everything is good, the oil's been changed, the brakes pads have been switched out, whatever, you're going to be performing at an elite level, at an F1
Mm.
racer level.
Right.
So I like how Matt put it earlier in the show. It's not necessarily about fix something that's broken. This is about unlocking and unleashing your best self,
Mm.
your elevated, evolved version of yourself, the best optimized version of yourself that you can possibly be. First and foremost, you deserve that before anybody else.
Right.
But after you benefit from being at your best self, from being in your best mental, physical state, your significant other benefits from it. Your children benefit from it. Your neighbors benefit from it. They don't have this douchebag that lives next door. They have someone that they're actually glad to be there. They'll miss them
Right.
when they go. They love
Right.
having them there. You'll be a top tier coworker. Your coworkers will look to you for guidance, for leadership, for just stability. I think I don't know if we all have that, but I think if you're at least over the age of 30, you've been working more or less since 18 or early 20s. I think you should have enough work experience in enough different places where at least one of your jobs had one person that was like that rock, that stability source. If it got too hot in the trenches, you could go to that person,
Hmm.
or you just felt even if they never did anything, you just felt better by having them be around.
Yeah.
When they leave, you miss them. Um, why not you?
Mm.
That can be you, where
Great
you just
point.
have to provide that unintended benefit of just by being around. You're a godsend to other people. You bring peace in the middle of chaos. You're that level playing field that other people are searching for. Be that. And the crazy thing is, in addition to the value that you can provide to other people by being that, I think you'd be surprised how much a blessing that is to yourself. Not just that you're helping other people, but how people look after you, how you're covered by other people because they respect what you do for them, whether they ever tell you or not. But again, none of that is possible if the inside ain't up to par.
Mm-hmm.
So go find you a mad genius, find you a therapist, find you somebody who you can confide in, and give them everything. I tell people there's two people. If it ain't your mama, if it ain't your daddy, if it ain't your wife or your husband, There's two people in life that you are never, under any circumstance, supposed to lie to. You ain't never supposed to lie to your lawyer, and you ain't never supposed to lie to your therapist.
Yo.
Because the
Alright.
more honest, the more transparent you are with them,
Right.
it can only benefit you.
Only, yeah.
You know
So
what I'm saying? So go ahead, take the risk, roll the dice, gamble on yourself.
Mm.
How can you lose?
Yeah.
that. That.
Super dope. Super dope.
Mm-hmm.
So Matt, close us out and also let everybody know how to get in contact with you. Don't leave nothing off the
Gotcha,
table.
man. Yeah. So
Any
many,
projects you working on? Any
yeah,
partnerships you
man.
got coming up?
Go.
So many
All
ways
that.
you can get in contact with me. Of course, the first thing is just put in Google Matt Genius. Just do that first of all. I think you're gonna be surprised what comes up. Second of all, that's the way you can find me on all platforms. Matt Genius on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, all of it. Find Matt Genius, and of course, I have music as well that are high frequency music, meaning it's going to be good for you and your kids. You can listen to
Bet.
this person, and it's going to be, some good hip hop for you and your kids. Can be like, yeah, man, this is my era. This is
I
how we
love it.
did it. You know what I'm saying? So, uh, of course, I also have children's books as well. I wrote 3 children's books that are out on Amazon. You can check them out. The link is on my Facebook page and my IG
Go.
page. So check out my children's book. And my private practice page is called Beach Stone Counseling. You can check that out as well. Beach Stone Counseling. You can separate the words and you can Google it as well. Have some great reviews if you want to check out. My website is beachstonecounseling.com.
Mm-hmm.
I also have some auxiliary pages where I'm doing some interesting things. I have a page called Hip Hop and Therapy where I talk about some hip hop lyrics that I appreciate that kind of, alludes to some therapeutic aspect that I highlight in the song. And so check that out as well. Just a lot of things, man. If you go to my IG page, you're going to find most of those things in my bio. So go to IG. I think that'll be the best way. Projects I'm working on. I love working on music, not because for my, for just entertainment purposes, but for my own health. This is my form of self-care. You know what I'm saying? When I have the time, I go to the studio. I feel like I'm in a different space. I can be creative because my brain is healthy. The ideas are flowing. I'm able to produce better music that way. So I have some music that I'm working on. I want to create a full album, with some really good quality songs. I have a couple songs that I want to release this month that I'm trying to release this month if I can get them some final edits. One of those songs is, both of those songs are for my brothers. One of those songs is for men who love to cook for their family.
Okay.
In the kitchen, you're in the kitchen, you want some theme music.
Yeah.
I got you covered. I got you
All
covered.
right.
The song is called Make a Meal. Make a meal.
Oh,
Make a
okay.
meal.
That sounds dope.
Yes.
Hey, I got some tracks for you too, by the way, Pimp, and I'm a
That's what's
producer.
up. Okay. That's
Yeah.
what's up. I'm gonna send you my email. You can send me over some of their tracks. And
It's
let's do it.
A super
A
team.
It's
collaboration.
gonna be a problem. It's gonna be a problem.
Yeah.
Major
That
Genius
mad
Productions.
that mad villainy, I feel it.
It's going down.
That should be released. Trying to release this summer. It's called "I'm Happy for My Brothers."
Dope.
And if you are from my area, you remember we had a song that if it played in the club, we fighting. It's called "I Ride for My
Yeah.
Right. As soon as that song come on, you like
See murder. Yeah.
And that song,
See murder joint. Yeah.
that song had a frequency, for all of us, man. It did this something for us that made us just put us into a trance state of just looking for something to get into. And so I'm happy for my brothers is like the updated version of that. Me saying instead of F the mother, I'm saying I'm happy for my brothers.
Yeah. That's dope.
Celebrating Black men past and present. You know what I'm saying?
That's dope. The concept is dope. So the track gotta be dope.
Yeah.
Oh,
I appreciate that. Yeah, I'm happy for my
that's
brothers.
crazy.
So, just more projects coming out. My wife is the better rapper between the two of us, so we working.
Oh, word?
Yeah, man.
She nice?
She listen to Unblack. She got the last verse on that joint. She ate it up. She ate it up, man.
What female rapper did she put you in the mind of?
Man, I would say
Muhammadiyah, Lauren.
Sound like a Rhapsody and Lauryn Hill.
Okay.
Between like Rhapsody and Lauryn Hill.
I'm looking forward to hearing that.
Yeah, you know,
That's
like
what's up.
she's
Nice.
nice, man. She's nice, and
Well,
she's like,
we're about to hear that. Yeah.
yeah, you're about to.
Okay.
If we play the whole track, you will definitely hear it. And so
Yeah.
I'm looking forward to it. I mean, we have a song called Frequency coming out, and basically the kind of idea behind the song is when we change our frequency, we change us, you know, and the frequency we're trying to change the mindset to is caring for yourself, meaning
Okay.
seeing yourself as valuable. She speaks to the women, I speak to the men.
Nice.
Okay.
And I'll give you the first couple of bars just to get you hyped
Get
up.
him.
You know?
Get him.
Just
All
the
right.
first go, it goes like this: news flash, right? News flash. My health is the new cash. My wealth, it can move fast like investing in DoorDash. Fantastic, the feels of my mind like a pool splash. I take the meetings with Dame Dash and John Damon, Damon Wayne and Michael Bivin. All my brothers are black brilliance, all of which are God's children. Black men, we are valuable. Some would say we're unstoppable. But when we stop, it gets misconstrued. 9 to 5 narrative, even news. 9 to 5 parakick super cruise. You can choose, I can choose. Breath work is my top to do. What I can, you can do too. I just a sample of it right there.
Fire. Fire,
So
boy.
yeah.
Yeah.
But the producer that I've been working
Sprinkle
with,
the salt on it.
the producer that I've been working with is from Detroit, man. He's a really great guy. You can check him out as well. His name
Okay.
is Stevie Thunder. He has a lot of tracks out on all platforms, man. He worked with artists from all over the place, from South Florida to California, New York. He works with a lot of great people. So that's what I've been working with. I'm a South Florida guy with the New York sound, so I'm like a hybrid between, you know, one of those artists down there. So enough about that, man. I'd love to come back on the show. You guys did an incredible job making me feel a part of, you know, this tribe that you guys have built, the community with the feedback. I appreciate all of you. Reach out. I promise you, you won't be disappointed in any way, form, or fashion. If you didn't get a question answered, reach out. I'll answer that question. DM me, message me, find me. And if you have somewhere that I can come do a talk to, a church, a community center, listen, pay that fee. I'm worth it. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
I'm the one that needs to be getting flued out. You know what I'm saying? So bring me out to your community, your church.
It's funny you said that because something was percolating. I'm gonna toss it in the. We gonna chop it up after, but
We got you. Yeah, man. So listen, man, I do presentations, workshop training. My wife and I have a business called Genius Consulting. Well, we do exactly what I was just talking about for small businesses, large corporations, where we come and do trainings and workshops. She's a 13-year educational veteran, has a PhD and work-life balance on the educational sector. And of course, I'm a 13, 14-year veteran in the mental health field. So between the two of us, we form Genius Consulting. And we need to be out in the community, making sure people understand how to benefit from their optimal wellness. And so yeah, man, reach out, find Matt Genius, plug me in. I'm ready.
Yes, we definitely will reach out.
Definitely.
I know we got something planned for the Manversation platform to be live. We're going to do a live event, and we'll definitely include you in that. We got to put that together in the future, but we're definitely going to add you into that plan. So look forward to us reaching back out to you for that as well. Well, we're definitely going to have you back on the show as well. We appreciate everything that you brought to the show. The gems you have dropped, man, so powerful. And I'm glad that everybody was able to see who you are and that we have somebody so dope that look like us. That look like us. Y'all don't understand representation matters. Y'all get excited when y'all see Little Mermaid. Yes. Like Little Mermaid. Yes. I will say that. Y'all get excited about Black Panther. Yes. Representation. I like that. But our real life superheroes that don't get the praises every day, that look like us, Matt Genius, that is the people that need the amount of praises as well as what you see on the big screen. They don't get it, but we have a platform that we can help illuminate people like Matt Genius so that you guys can see that superheroes do roll amongst us and to help us be superheroes as well. That's what representation does. All right.
I appreciate it, man.
With that being said, we're definitely gonna be out of here. Before we go, I'm going to let you guys listen to the music as we close out.
Bang that joint.
So definitely tune in next week. We definitely have another great show. And everybody, like I said, play back and get the information, and definitely get with Matt Genius. You're
Go
going to
listen to
have,
some Matt Genius right now,
yes.
man. Go listen to it right now. He
So
won't be.
you're
Do that.
definitely going to get a great investment. So go ahead and invest in the Beach Stone Counseling and get. Hey, if the man is as powerful, you already know his woman is just as powerful, more
Beast.
powerful.
I
So you're
see it.
getting a dual combination. So you can't go wrong. All right. So peace out. We love y'all. Be easy. See y'all next week. Peace.
Love and light.
All right.
Call it the gift and a curse. Always a gift, you know. I know my truth doesn't hurt. I ain't been one with the earth. Leaders were leaders were leaders. Look how we made them believe us. Coming in hot from the freezer. We keep it light like a sister. I see the future is bright. Look at the youth taking flight. We make the best of the best. All of them saying we're blessed. Beating the drums and we move. Always a vibe with the crew. Circling back for the few. The many is waiting for you. What do you mean what you mean? Nothing in life for the same. Black is a powerful thing. Go at the pendulum swing. Black is the berry, the deep of the root. The melanin magic is buried in you. Matches, I am a salute to the root. Spiritual habits are ultimate. We is black. Me and Mac. You need the raps. We need the racks. We is back. The black race. They want to be us. That's the story of blackface. Come on now. We lit it up. We lit it up. So just give us the back pay. How I carry my family. You gonna think that my back ache. Stop asking for things. It's all for a rat race. Come on now. They happy we big to put us in last place. Won't be all the hard. All because these cars. Now they ringing along. Always saying we are. Scared alone. Make us the biggest army. And once we figure it out, all my homies is born. Genius and code was the concept. Vision clear for the onset. Myers with under the mindset. Doing things haven't been done yet. We is the hottest alive. None of you hotter. Try to survive. Rhyming is fly. You never get through till you ride with the guy. We make moves to make moves. Play this instead of the news. That was a quote from SBeezy. We make the trauma look easy. Easy peasy. Me and Jimmy. Need the real, then you need me. Need the real, then you need to see. Need the meanest, get it easy. We are the world, we got the juice. Listen to Pac, he tell the truth. My brother Cole, check out the catalog. Run out of space, feeling if I travel out. Rappy rap, he be building, you can't be acting. Ain't y'all sweet, laffy taffy. Don't try Florida, them cats be back. Been to the future, the present is great. Great from my heart because this is the day. Look to the mother for us that will pray. Africa motherland, show us the way. Show us the way, we gotta go. No time to waste, it's time to go. Big time, Geronimo. Yep. Now you know. In Puerto Rico, they call me the Grito. I was like, oh no. They said it's all love though. I said you so dope. They said for sure though. I said explain though. They said bet here we go. You are in Afro. You are incredible. Black skin so magical. In the sun it shines so. Melanated is noble. God kings and queens yo. Google search I'm a raw yo. Read and learn straight facts yo. I am God. I am free. I am black as I can be. Nobody can love my blackness better than me. Black. Yeah. Biggity black.
I'm black, who's black, we black, all black, hey black, blue black, still black, been there, done that, future, past, queens black, king black, Lucy, dirt black. They can't help but notice when we show this. We can't help but be black, blood thick, flow sick, genius, oozing greatness, black dark mindscape, all black. Time is an illusion, life is present, victim mindset held back in the school of life. The book is you, the breath is key. Memory back, don't want you to miss this, so I'll say this slow to help you unblock, unlock the potential, residential mother science, unlock the guide that's deep inside your mind. Take time to breathe, relax, receive, refine. Black is more than a fad, a trend to try. Black now, black then, black love, black friend, prototype.
We is black. Me and Mac. Need the rats. Need the rats. We is back. The black race. That's the story of blackface.